Dark Side of Reality. I'm Adam Darkside,
And
and
I'm Emily Harness.
and tonight we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories. Though a lot of them really aren't conspiracy theories anymore. A lot of them have been kind of proven right by facts.
Yeah.
So we're kind of going over um conspiracy theories that were once conspiracy theories but still looked at by the public as conspiracy theories because and the only reason why the public does still looks at them like conspiracy theories is because they're uneducated and they look at UFOs, something that's been told over and over and over again and admitted to by the US government that exist, and they're telling you they exist and you're still like, ha,
Some
no.
people's brains just can't comprehend that kind of thing.
Yeah, which is too many people because if they knew the truth, I mean, I watched a podcast the other night, and I'll do a shout out to it. The Sean Ryan podcast show on YouTube, and he had, and this was a year ago. I didn't even know that like it existed, but it was a whole year ago. And Dr. Greer's on there, and uh, the Disclosure Project, and all the whistleblowers, and all the different things that he had to say blew my mind. Like I had no idea that these things are that
Is
they
that the
have.
one that you sent me the other day?
Yeah, like it's a
Okay.
3 hour long podcast. It's like super
Yeah, I
long.
started to watch it and then, being a mom stuff happened and had to get
I
up.
did.
So,
I didn't even watch the whole thing like the first time, like all the way through. Like I started it at like 11 o'clock at night, and I had to go to bed. I just was like, oh, I'll just start watching. I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to shut it off. Like there's so much information that it blew my mind. Like the we'll get into. I think I want to do a whole like segment on just that one podcast and like break it down and talk to everybody about like the different parts of it and like put in like because right now he has a DPI project that's online that anybody can look at any of the evidence he's ever collected throughout this whole 30-year thing that he's been doing, and you can go on there and watch every witness testimonial on there, like all the videos where they sat down with him and talked about like what they saw. And he has to prove to them, by the way, he doesn't just listen to any Yahoo that there is and just take their word for it. He actually gets evidence that they were at this black site or whatever, like whether it has to do with their cards or paperwork or tax information proving that they were employed by these people. And then most of the time, like you said, after you have so many different whistleblowers, he has like over 500 of them. You start piecing together the story because you have a lot of times they split the people up so they don't know who's working on the project at the same time. That way they can't really realize what they're actually working on. A lot of people didn't even realize it till after the fact what they're even working on. It was just
hmm
like, hey, take a look at this. Tell me what you think about this. It won't. Some of the times they didn't even like show them the actual thing, but they would give them numbers and say, "What if, per se, we got these numbers, and what if we told you it was this and that? Like, what are
right, they
your
were all given like hypothetical situations. Like,
yeah?" And
if this
so a lot of
happened,
them,
then how would you deal
so
with it?
so yeah, a lot of them were scientists and stuff, and they just kind of like blew it off as not a big deal. But some people were actually like there. Like some people were actually there with the crafts, and it turns out that like I thought that the U.S. didn't have the capabilities. Like they didn't have the capabilities to have like what the UFOs have, where you see them, zero gravity, not letting off any heat signatures, not letting off any,
No, they do.
propulsion. But
They 100% do.
they 100% do. Like they do. They have recreated them, and the time, and what Greer says is the time they've been sitting on this shit for 70 years almost since the end of World War II
Yeah.
that they've had some of this technology. Like they could have, and it's all about money and power. That's it. And you hear these people, and people think that the government, when they're saying they have no clue about these things that are going on, like we had no idea. Even people like presidents, because it's need to know. And if you don't know, like the famous lines that were said to President Bill Clinton, he was trying to dig on it because he was convinced that he was either going to turn over evidence or find out. And he was straight up told that's above your rank. No one's above the president. So who gets to tell the president that no? Because all these are illegal, and that's why Greer's having more people come out because they even have them sign NDAs, right? They make people think that are working on these projects that if they do come out, they'll get in trouble and sued, and they think they're working for the U.S. government, but in fact, they're not working for the U.S. government, and that's where Greer's got around it for more whistleblowers to come out is the fact that these projects are unconstitutional.
Right.
Therefore, you can't be criminally convicted because the US government isn't aware that they even are happening. They're even like above the rank of black operations, like code black, like which is like the the deep stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't even know about this stuff. Like they have no clue because he's meeting with generals
So
and
basically, what you're saying is like they had some people working on, like the engine, and some people working on the robotics, and some people and none of them could talk to each other.
no,
They weren't
yeah,
allowed to communicate with each other to
no,
figure out what it is that they were building.
yeah. Like even Greer said that whenever they had him work on stuff, or not, was it Greer? I don't know. I think he even it goes back to where he said that he worked on things. I'm not sure. But I think it was the other guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But they set him in a room and it was like weird hours. They like called him and had him show up and then he gets escorted there and of course it's like he can't see where he's going or but he kind of has an idea of the direction and where he's going, but they take
Right.
him and take him to this base and they bring him in and they go floors below. Like they're estimating that there's a base somewhere out in the Nevada desert that is over 300,000 square miles big underneath the surface. That they have testing facilities and like it wouldn't surprise me though. They have the capabilities that I realize that they have now, like nothing is out of the question. They can do anything. The
Right.
fact that they know how to levitate things now, like there was a
Which is
whistleblower,
insane.
yeah, and it goes back to I don't know if you ever remember, like on Ancient Aliens, there's this guy, and it's a place down in Florida. It's made of coral, and it's like he was the only person. It was just a guy. He barely stood above 5 feet tall. Just one guy made all these monolithic structures out of like concreted coral, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like a big park. And he was the only one that moved all these things. And there was never any heavy machinery out there, nor did he use it. But they did see him using like what appeared to be this black box that set on top of like he had these like two angled pieces of just an old style like what do you call it? Crane. It's like an older style crane type thing, and it was just like three stands and then it all came to a point and then it was this black box sitting on top of it, but they never seen it in action, but they got one guy said he got a glimpse one time and there was a black box. Well, one which I thought was really weird when I kind of connected those dots, they didn't he Sean Ryan didn't really connect the dots because I don't think he's ever probably even seen the episode, honestly, of Ancient Aliens where they're talking about this guy. But supposedly that black box, they guess that it levitated things. Well, the show I was watching on the Sean Ryan, he had one of those whistleblowers come in. It was a different show, but he was doing a special segment of three different whistleblowers that Greer basically hooked him up with to give their testimonial on his podcast, right? Well, he went.
Mm-hmm.
This one guy, he was a government contractor with his father, and they just thought like they were going to some base. They put him in
On
the
just
back of a
that one
black,
podcast. Testimonial on a
like, and they basically put him in the back of a blacked out cargo van that had no windows and drove him about 15 minutes. And this was in like Georgia, so it was around Fort Benning area or whatever. And they drove about 15 minutes. They got out. It looked like a dump. He said it looked like there was a bunch of, like, it was like almost camouflaged, like it was a dump. And they went in to this little room, and it had an elevator with two buttons, basically an up and a down. And they said they went on the elevator, went down, and he got out. And he said when he got out, it was pitch quiet, but he said he could feel like the vibration almost humming in his ears, kind of like he could feel a vibration going like into his body, but he couldn't tell what it was. Well, as they walked out, I guess to his left, there was this big 20-foot slab of like concrete or whatever. And above it, he said he bent down to tie his shoe and kind of was like, "What the hell? What the hell is this thing?" And he kind of noticed that it was hovering. It wasn't sitting on the ground. He could see underneath of it, and he could see people's legs on the other side of it at the bottom. But he has it, like he said that
That's
it doesn't
weird.
matter. Yeah. And he said that this other guy had this, and there was a black box sitting on top of it. You see? So like he said it looked like there was two
Hmm.
leads coming out of the box. Basically like electricity, almost like they're sending frequencies at a certain wavelength that's creating such a strong vibration, and whatever's linked up to that vibration defies gravity. Like,
I mean, it's not so out of this world that it's not
it's not.
possible.
It's definitely not, because
It's
I
just
believe.
it's just crazy because we've not physically seen it ourselves to be
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, that's 100% fact.
I know. Like, I'll
Like
sit here and
until you see it, it's hard to believe.
right, but I mean, I'm sorry. It's usually pretty easy to tell if someone's full of shit. Later on in this podcast, that guy is whistleblowing and talking about this story. They refused afterwards to sign NDAs, and he was
Hmm.
basically almost killed, and his father passed away of cancer like not long after. What he said, it was one of the most healthiest men he's ever met in his life. Like, and I know that people say, "Oh, well, cancer, it happens fast and it comes on." But I mean, they said that it was aggressive and spread everywhere, and like right after this happened. Well, what happened, basically what ruined his military career, is the guy that took him there. I guess there was a buddy contractor that came out, and the reason he knows these people is they owned a lot of farmland. His dad's a big government contractor for one, and his dad owned a whole bunch of hunting grounds in Arkansas, and all these guys from different places would come down and hunt and everything. Well, that's why, I mean, inside they get bids on things by who you know. Who you know is how you get the good bids. Well, they were going to put an indoor shooting range in. That's why they were going there. And he just so happened to see that on the way to go to where they were going to show him where the shooting range was going to be. And he noticed it. And when he noticed that corner of his eye, both the people, that the guards that were taking him like in there, and one of the guys he knew, one of the guys he didn't know, but he said his dad talked to both of them like he known them for a while. So like wasn't anything shocked. He said it was nothing out of the normal. Like he didn't think anything of it. He wasn't expecting to see this monolithic thing floating in the air. He wasn't expecting to see any of that. But they did tell him when they're in the elevator that to keep their heads down and straight, like the guy in the elevator, and they kind of laughed it off because they didn't think he didn't think anything of it. Like, this is just a normal day at work. We're gonna go
Right.
give them the dimensions and you know figure out the plans to put this indoor shooting park in down underneath here or whatever. Well, I guess on the way back they brought him into this room and said, "You guys need to sign this NDA." And he said, "Man, he looked at the one guy and said, "You know me, I ain't signing that shit." He goes, "You should know me well enough to know I ain't gonna say a fucking thing." And he was kind of laughing about it like in the podcast because he is saying something about it. But after the man lost everything, like everything was taken from this man because he didn't sign an NDA and basically told him to fuck off. He almost died. He thinks he was off because that same guy that took him on that trip, they were doing training missions and they were going to jump at 800. You know how they clip on and they jump out and automatic chute gets pulled, right? Well, usually you get tapped on the shoulder and he was usually the first to go. Well, all of a sudden out of the corner of his eye after the green light came on, this guy came walking towards him and he kind of glanced out and the guy ran by and jumped out. And as he jumped out, it rips that cord down and it literally ripped down, hit him in the face, knocked him, and he oscillated
Yikes.
and hit the ground and like woke up. Next thing he knew, he was waking up in the hospital. And it was such bad injuries that he got, honorably discharged from the military from those injuries. Just so happened this guy shows up on a plane ride for his that wasn't supposed to be there and he jumps out and he said, I definitely think it was a hit. I think he knew exactly what he was doing when he did that because it's very dangerous to do that. You don't just go running and jumping out like that
No.
without, he was trying to send him a message. If anything, if he wasn't trying to kill him, he was trying to send him a message because that same guy actually shows up multiple occasions after his dad died. He said he had just bought a new house like out by the beach. He hadn't even given the BMV his information. He hadn't given anybody. He said the VA didn't even have his address yet. It was that new. And as he was visiting the house, getting stuff around, a week after his father was killed, the guy showed up, knocked on his door, and said, "Sorry about your loss," and handed him a piece of paper on a note that said sorry about like a card that said sorry about your loss with like a shit-eating grin on his face and a smile, and basically shut the door. And he said after that his life spiraled out of control. Basically he ended up losing that house. Like he was living homeless. And Sean Ryan, he said he was about on the verge of the worst of the worst, ending it all, before he talked to Ryan about it, because like this messed his whole life up. So basically,
I get it. I get why it messed him up so bad.
But now Greer actually has his own security detail, man. They don't mess around. Like the reason why everybody thinks like, okay, well then why is Greer getting away with what he gets away with? It's because of who Greer knows. Greer has high up ranking officials in the government that he knows and talks to, and he's briefed every president from Clinton on out on this subject. And the people who are doing these operations are not doing them legally, and they have donors. Like he named off a lot of companies in there, and they're all the big ones. Like what's the one? Boeing even has a play, which Boeing, I mean, they can't make a safe plane if they wanted to, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And if you notice that they basically got a slap on the wrist for the people in that crash and everything. Like I just saw the other day that they got like the people were filed a joint lawsuit on this plane crash that went down for something, and like they were asking for like 500, like $500 million. And I mean, quite honestly, in this day and age, $500 million to a company like Boeing, they get government contracts.
Isn't anything. That's nothing.
It really isn't. But they barely had to pay crap compared to that.
Like, I mean, $500,000 to them is like fucking pocket change.
Yeah, and the only thing they have to do is like for the next 5 years or something. Don't quote me on it. Like they have to have an outside consultant be on all their projects before they like basically yeah, exactly. Like those people can't be paid off and bought.
Right,
I mean,
exactly. You give them enough money and they'll say whatever you want them to say.
well, even Greer said he had a $2 billion offer to silence him, and he told him to fuck off. And those were his words, fuck off. Imagine someone offering to hand you $2 billion, and you tell them that. Like, Greer's the real deal. Like, I believe it. I believe it 100%. The stuff that he's brought to light,
I
that
mean,
there's
at
this
some
secret
point, like,
society.
money doesn't buy everything. And
No.
when you are true to yourself, from the way that it sounds that he is, like, somebody could have offered him the fucking world and he would have been like, no, bro. Like, no.
Well, he said that these people like start off like grooming people from the very beginning. As soon as they get into any type of government position in any sort of bit, they kind of give them these little tests to see if they're, uh, a freaking psychopath or
Right.
a sociopath,
I
someone that
mean,
only
have you
cares
ever
about themselves.
seen what is it called? That show, it was on Netflix with what's his face? Oh man, where he's the lone survivor or whatever it's called. Is it the
I
lone
think I know
survivor?
what you're talking about. Is that the
Where he's
one
like the
with
secretary of housing and development and they're at some conference or like everybody is like at the White House or whatever, the Capitol building, and it gets blown to smithereens and he
oh,
becomes president. And there's all these people that are trying to like get him to turn
yeah.
into a politician, which he's not. Like he was head of housing and economic development. Like that was his job. So like
Yeah.
that's what they tried to do is they tried to find out how dirty and how crooked he was from the very beginning so that they could like weasel their way in to see if that he was easy to be bought,
Oh yeah.
and he
And they
wasn't.
and they do that in real life. Like, it's
Oh
not
yeah,
even
absolutely.
half this shit. What that guy, after I watched that podcast of that guy coming out and talking about like seeing that like thing floating, he said there was like there was other feet back behind it, and over to the side he could see up high enough that there was a boulder on the ground, and behind that it was like almost like that area, but there was another box, like a smaller box above this boulder, and he said the guy was sitting there just spinning it with his hand, and it was just spinning in circles, like as fast as he could do it, and it was just spinning. The other boulder was
The
sitting on the
boulder?
ground. Yeah, there was a boulder off to the side that there was two men standing down on the floor back behind it. He could see their boots, and then he didn't see anything, and then he could see one boulder on the floor, and then he saw another part of the boulder above that the megalithic structure. He said the megalithic structure was only like 7 foot tall, but he could see like underneath of it. The whole thing was floating, and then back behind it, when he was tying his shoe, he could see up underneath it, and he could see the thing spinning, like someone was flapping it with their arm, like just spinning it
Weird.
around. It is weird. Someone could make a movie on that shit. Like, it's so weird and out there that like, it wouldn't be hard to make a movie because it just doesn't seem believable. But the way the guy tells the story with tears in his eyes, talking about, he said him and his dad were close. The day after they did, no, it was a week after they were going to start their work, and on the base, because they're government contractors, they had all their equipment on the base and in a section with a warehouse and everything for all their equipment and everything. He said one of his people that he works with, a manager, called him and straight up told him, like, what are we going to do about working? And he said, what do you mean, what are we going to do about working? And he said, well, we just showed up. Our equipment, our machinery isn't here. The doors are locked up and we can't get into it. He said, what? Because that's not possible. Like, it's not possible they moved all of his machinery, all that. I guess his dad only lives right down the road from there. And, like, his dad would have said something to him because him and his dad are close. Like, they work together on everything. So, like, if his dad has something happen, he's going to tell him. He's like, there's no way. So he drove down there himself. And come to find out, yeah, it's locked up. The machinery's gone. So he drives up the way and goes to his dad's house. He walks up. As he pulls into his dad's driveway, he can see his dad's front door is kicked in. He goes in the house yelling his dad's name, and his dad, yells back, I'm in here. Said he came in, and you could see with his office door is busted open. And everything gone out of his office. Not one thing was left. And he said they took it all. It's all gone. His dad was just sitting on the couch. And when he said, "Do you think it had something to do with that Unit 19 that we went to?" And his dad stood up and screamed, "I don't want to ever hear you beeping say that again." And
Really?
he said his dad would never.
So they threatened him.
I'm wondering what he threatened him with for his dad to stop. No, it gets worse. His dad stopped talking to him. His dad stopped all communication. None. Zero. He wouldn't return his phone calls. Even whenever he was going through the
Wonder
cancer.
if they threatened his kid's life. I wonder. Said, if you don't get your kid to shut up, we're going to kill him.
That's kind of what I'm getting the gist of it. Because,
yeah,
like, when I was sitting there watching it, I'm like, what? He's like, because even the guy was saying it out of his own mouth. He goes, what could they threaten you with that would make you not talk to your own flesh and blood? That was my dad. I was their only child. He goes, I was his only son. I literally was his legacy. And he stopped talking to me after that. He goes, even when he had cancer,
that would be the only way that I would ever stop talking to my children, is to preserve their safety.
Well, that's even what he said. He goes, I have kids and I would do anything for them, whatever. And I'm just kind of thinking in my head, well, maybe you need to tie your own dots together, brother. Because by the way it sounds, is he threatened everybody that he loves death. And probably told him, we won't kill you. We'll let you sit and watch each one of your family members die. And we won't kill you. We'll let you live and suffer through it all.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. It has to be.
It has to be. Because if you were that close to your son, you just stopped talking to him. They had to have threatened the dude's family.
It had to have been he's trying to preserve his family's safety by withdrawing and not talking to anybody.
He said that he even went into the hospital when his dad was on his deathbed. And he said that he walked by his dad's room twice because he when he looked into that room, he didn't think it was his father. He said his dad and this is a big dude. He's a pretty big guy himself. He said his dad was the same size, had the same build, everything. He said he was just a little old frail guy. He said he walked in the room and he could see on the guy, he still never spoke to him. But I guess what he said, he grabbed his dad's hand and held it and literally looked at him and said, I don't care what we've been through. He goes, that doesn't change how much, you're still my dad and I care about you. And I guess his dad had a tear run down the side of his face and then he coded and died. Right there on the spot. But it kind of just makes you wonder, if the fact that they obviously, after they walked out of there, not signing the NDA, they knew they had nothing on these two guys. They knew we have to get something on them. We have to watch them. We have to fuck their lives because we have to make a mess, make an example out of them. And I'm sure, and this isn't the first time I've heard about anybody who invents anything that is worth a shit end up dead.
Steve Jobs.
Everyone. There's a guy that actually made a little black box type thing that was was an energy device that it literally, once it fired up, and it was no bigger than this big. And there's old videos of it showing it powering. And honestly, if I edit it, I might throw it in here, but this guy found a way to power all these things off of, it's 0 point energy is what it is. It's it uses just a little tiny bit of energy to start, and then it kind of winds up and wraps up to enough that he was powering the whole room. He was powering all kinds of shit off of this little tiny box. And he said that this is free, clear energy. You could power a car with it. You could power a house with it. You could.
Well, and see, the government doesn't want people access to that because they don't make any money on that.
They don't even want you to drink rainwater, dude.
I know. It's illegal in some states to collect rainwater.
Yeah. Why? Who the hell are they to tell you what to drink? Even if it kills you, why do they don't have any problem legalizing alcohol. They don't have any problem
because the reason why they legalize alcohol is because it causes problems with
Yeah.
the human body, in which
Yeah.
you need to go to the hospital for, in which they are making money from big pharma that way.
Exactly.
Which is exactly why weed or marijuana is not legal in a lot of states still,
Yeah. Well, it's
because it does
because
help.
and it's a lot of those states are farm states that they could easily the consumer could grow it themselves. But I think we've all found, and I'm not saying this personally, wink, 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 but it's a lot easier to drive to a dispensary and get your ganja than it is to grow it. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's easy to plant a seed, but if you want some good green, like the stuff that people want, it like you need to know what you're doing when you're growing it, or it's just gonna turn out some bunk crap. So like that's why I think at this point, at first, actually, during Prohibition, when alcohol was outlawed, so was weed at that time. Before that, cannabis was still legal, and a lot of doctors use cannabis oil, and they use CBD, and they use THC oil to help manage people's pain and stuff, and appetite, and all these kind of things. But after it went out, and they brought alcohol back, but they didn't bring pot back because they realized that it's a lot easier to tax the people who make the all the alcohol and stuff and get money that way than it is to tax pot. But now I mean, if you look at all these other states, like these tax dollars, extra billions with a B in revenue for the state. So like schools cannot go without music programs, go without shop class, go without all these technical things that they could do. And weed helped make that happen.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
you know, it boggles me how states, and also Indiana, by the way, the state I live in, if like you start driving north on I-69 towards the Michigan line, in Indiana, they literally have billboards for dispensaries in Indiana. Now tell me that makes a lick of sense that they
You
are
mean the
allowed.
dispensaries are in Michigan, but the
Yeah,
signs are in Indiana?
yeah. So that would be like putting hey, go across the border and get your cocaine here.
It's like
Like,
false advertisement.
yeah,
In a way.
like it makes no sense, like at all. If it's illegal in that state, why is it legal to promote it? It's because of the tax money. It's the kickback.
Well, our government, or I guess your government, Indiana's government, is probably getting money
Yeah,
from Michigan government saying,
lobbyist.
hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars of what we sell every year if you help us.
Well, I mean, Indiana just needs to just get with the program because it's only a matter of time before every
Well,
state.
isn't Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, and now Kentucky?
I don't know about Kentucky.
I think they're legal, or they're decriminalizing it and making it medical now.
Oh,
From the last I read, anyways. But I'm pretty sure Indiana is going to be surrounded by legal states here before too long.
well, I got kind of excited because like I heard that like Ohio is they voted that in, so that's only a matter of time before all that stuff happens. And I just figure like if Ohio does it, I think Indiana's finally gonna get with it.
Indiana typically follows Ohio's suit on most things. However, me
And
living in Texas, we're going to be the last damn state to legalize
I
anything.
mean, I don't want to. I'm not criminally. I mean, I haven't smoked in like forever, but it's just the point is like, man, there's far worse things you could be doing.
Right, it's
Like,
the fact of the matter. Like it's naturally grown, it's naturally sourced. Like why? It's like going out and planting a tomato plant and
and
picking the
then
fruit and eating it. Like it's no
yeah,
different.
yeah, it's like when is it gonna be whenever they decide to start cracking down on that? When's it gonna be
Well,
when they tell everybody that you can't grow a garden?
it's funny that you say that because they're actually talking about I read an article not too long ago that they're talking about what seeds can be grown in certain states. Like the government wants to control what seeds can be planted where.
Yeah. Like, come on, man. Like, they need to butt the hell out. I mean, but then again, anytime we have a Democrat in office, it seems like they manage to completely cut down your rights and then tell everybody that it's for your own good. And then they try to sit there and say, but by the time a Republican gets in and tries to say something, and I'm not either, but I'm just saying it just seems that way. Like, it seems like every time a little bit more rights, then people will yell out and say, well, what about the abortion? Well, that got, yeah, that did happen.
That's the least of our problems.
That did happen, but I will tell people out there listening that's still butthurt about that. It's called condoms. It's called Plan B. You can still go get it at CVS.
Or
if you're that fucking worried about it, do something.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I mean, if you're really the problem I have with it.
Hold on, I gotta. Before we get too far, people are gonna say, "Well, people get raped. What about that?" Well, if people get raped, I will say 100% they should have the option to
do what they want to do.
They can get a Plan B pill right after it, take it, and not have to worry about it. It won't happen. Okay,
yeah.
Carry on. I just know that there's been people screaming rape, so I just want to get that off there. There are ways to take care of that. Don't act like they're taking that away. Plan B is still on the shelves. I just went to the CVS yesterday. It's still there and you can buy it. So if you didn't wear a condom, didn't try the pull-out method, which I'm a prime example that doesn't work. But anyway, if you tried that method, you can go to CVS and for $49.99, you can take care of it. All right?
And with a lot of health insurances, they will cover it.
Yeah. People are acting like it's impossible to get rid of your baby if you don't want it. Oh, there's still ways. And
well, Plan B doesn't get rid of a baby. That's not what that's for.
Okay,
and it's not supposed to be used for contraception either. It's supposed to be used like in an emergency. It's an emergency contraceptive. So don't go trying to take that for birth control because that's not what it's for.
No, yeah.
Birth control is for birth control.
It's to make sure the day after that if there was a sperm and an egg and they did happen to meet and blam, shockwaves exploded, boom, you can take that pill and take care of it.
And what my thing is, as being on the conservative side of things, is that if you don't want to get pregnant, don't do it.
Yeah.
Take the necessary precautions or don't do it at all.
And then people be like, well,
and if you do,
sex for fun, we're allowed that right.
Well, and yeah, you are allowed that right. But if you want to get pregnant, fine, don't use birth control. But if you don't want to get pregnant, use birth control or some sort of birth control. Or if you end up pregnant and don't want the baby anymore, that's not birth control. Abortion is not birth control. I don't care who you are. It's not to be used as birth control. No. And that's the problem.
That is the problem. There's too many people.
Is that people were using it like, oh, I got pregnant, I'm just going to go get an abortion.
I don't like the feel of condoms. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, get the thin ones.
All right, next topic.
Yeah, next topic.
Before we get canceled.
Already butthurt about this already. And I'll tell those people that are butthurt, stop watching. I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah, we really don't.
Here,
but
people that are still here, hey, what's up? What's up to you? People that can take a joke, stick around.
I mean, it's not really a joke. It's
no.
That's not a joke, anyways. But we're gonna be raw and unfiltered here, and if you don't like it, then see you later.
Yeah, well, we're speaking the truth. You don't like the truth? Hit the road.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, I don't care whose feelings I hurt. Nope. Just like you don't care which pronouns to throw down my throat. So, anyway, next topic. But yeah, we're talking about conspiracy theories. I honestly think that that whole thing is part of the conspiracy theory. It was like it seemed like not long after, like, when did the abortion get upturned anyhow? Wasn't it like,
You mean Roe v. Wade?
yeah, wasn't it like right after they admitted that UFOs were like real? I
Um,
think it was. I think it was like right after that. So then it was something else for the public to fight about, because that's really what it's all about. It's about keeping us as people.
September 28th, 2022.
Okay, so it was far after it. It wasn't that close.
That was when it was overturned the second time. It's been overturned twice. And then it's been a whole thing. Like,
Oh, I stopped following because I don't care.
yeah,
Like,
it doesn't concern me.
No, like, and see, and that's
And
the
it's
thing.
the least of our country's problems.
And people like throw that in people's faces, like, well, what about Roe versus Wade? That should be the reason why you're voting. No, that doesn't affect
If
me.
that's the reason why you're voting for a female president that has no right to be sitting as a president-elect, then you shouldn't be voting, because
No,
you obviously are uneducated.
no. And that woman is not about families. That woman, when she was in California, she used to throw parents in jail that
And
their
laugh
kids
about
go-
it.
and laugh. And I mean, I can put the video in here too for those of you.
Hyena laugh and laugh
Yeah,
about
her
it.
heckle, her hackle. Yeah, she would literally.
Oh, Joe.
She laughed about it, like it was funny to throw parents in jail and make their kids get put in the foster system. She thought it was funny.
Well,
y'all.
she-
Like, seriously.
She also thought it was funny to jail parents when their kids were truant to school.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
When they showed up tardy, yeah, they literally were having.
Like,
I mean,
if
kids
you
were
miss
getting
school
thrown
too
in the
much-
foster system.
She had to punish the parents
Yeah,
by
so
throwing
hard
them in jail.
so. Not making them pay a fine or something, you know.
Because that
go
does
one
so well
step.
for the children.
Yeah, that you're caring so much about those children when you get rid of their parents.
And put them in the
That's-
foster care system.
And people didn't like that. Yeah, people didn't like that because that's evil. That's disgusting and rude. To literally throw parents in jail for their kids being late too many times. How many of it was from parents oversleeping because they worked 85
Or
hours
the kid
that
has
week?
an autoimmune disease and is sick a lot, and their family can't afford to go to the doctor, because obviously not every sickness grants you going to the doctor's office.
It's
But,
just
like,
this, she's been voted.
she would jail him.
Vice president. They did. They did a poll. She's officially the worst VP in history. So why?
Yeah.
So what did the Democratic Party
They don't have another
gain?
choice.
Yeah, but they do though.
I mean, they do. They had Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or whatever her name is.
Like, they have
like-
so many better choices than Camilla.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
so many. It's because she's already, and we'll say this as it's
She's
part of the deep
established.
state. They've already. I mean, she sat back and knew that the president of the United States is not competent enough to read a fucking teleprompter, let alone walk, let alone talk on his own accord. We all got the proof. That's why none of the media outlets could ignore it anymore. They couldn't ignore it because it's bought and paid by the DOJ. The FBI has the media paid off, y'all. So if you go by MSNBC, CNN, hell, even Fox News, it doesn't matter what it is. Each one of those places gets bought and paid to establish what narrative they want the people to see.
That's why around COVID, you could listen to any news station and they were all saying the exact same thing. There's a video out there, and
Yeah.
I'll find it, and I will try and link it in here somehow, like during the edited version,
Yeah.
that you can hear the rhetoric being
Spewed.
told over and over and over through different states, different whatever. They were all told to say the same thing.
Yep. They were reading from a
Word
script,
for word.
word for word, and it was coming out of women's, men's, all these news stations.
White, black, Chinese, everything. It was everyone.
Were word for word, and they in that video, somebody caught onto it and literally played all the different.
Oh, they pieced them all together. Yeah,
pieced it all together and has it being read by each and individual news station.
And they do that with so much. Not just with COVID and not just with, the election or anything like that, but they do that with a lot of things. Like just the weather even, like whenever there's like the snowmageddon or whatever, they all are told to say the same things.
Yeah.
So that they all sound competent, but when in all actuality they're just being told what the hell to say.
Yeah. So how is that biased? I mean, just watching that one video, and I am going to put it in here when I do some post editing. This is the live cut, whatever. It's a little bit rough, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit this video, and a few days later it'll be nice, shiny, new, a little bit more polished, probably a little beeped out, but either way, it's just the case is that really happens. Like, that happened. Like, you are being lied to, folks. Like, you're being lied to on the daily. If you watch national media news, like any news station out there, they're telling you what the government wants them to say.
Do yourself a favor and go look at another country's media source. Go look at the BBC, for instance. They cover American politics. And they're looking at America like we're fucking stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of our country is fucking stupid. We are a laughing stock to the rest of the world. America, what happens in America this time? Like, it's a fucking joke. We are a joke to them.
I mean, look.
But seriously, go and look. Go and look at other countries' newscasts, especially Australia. Australia really has a lot of great things, wink wink, to say about America.
That doesn't surprise
me.
me.
Australian news covers American politics tremendously.
Oh yeah, because
check it out, because it's very interesting.
We're one of the biggest economies, and the biggest economy in the world. So
I mean, we are, yeah.
We affect everybody's prices. So politics has a lot to do with, lobbying and all.
And when we have a doofus in office that doesn't know where he's at or who he's talking to or what position that he holds in government politics is ridiculous. He thinks Donald Trump is his vice president. At one point, he stated that Donald Trump was a wonderful vice president.
He could, whenever he, and here, this is true, whenever he had to, basically be interviewed about the illegal documents that he was storing in his garage.
Oh, yeah, the ones that were just chilling everywhere.
Yeah, and the one guy, I can't remember, it's something files or whatever. Dang it. But in the end, he ended up saying that, and you could see the report and everything. The report stated that he was confused and couldn't get even the dates right of his vice presidency. He wasn't
exactly.
Even sharp enough to say what years he couldn't even remember.
He still thought it was 2012.
He don't know.
He thought he was still vice president at one point.
The only reason they picked him to run the last time was because he was vice president of Barack Obama, and that is the only reason.
Well, and they knew that he could be manipulated.
Puppet.
He could be bought.
Yeah, we've already. They pretty much proved that too.
And that's exactly why they chose Kamala. At the same time, that's the exact same reason why they're choosing her.
And the only reason why and you know what? I don't know a lot about her past, but the one thing I do know is that the last 4 years...
You should really look into it.
What I've read, I haven't liked any of what I've read, but the little bit I have read about her, the thing that ticks me off, I think, the most, is all these people that been around this man for the last 4 years know that you can't tell me that meeting with him, being around him, or anything, that they didn't know that he has lost his mind, that he has no idea what is going on, that they have to give him cards with people's names on it and faces. I mean, and people are like, "Well, he's old." He's exactly. You're just proving my point. You're
He's
saying
the
that, oh,
same. He's actually younger than my grandmother, and my grandmother is very spry in her head.
I have nothing against the man losing his marbles.
Just
does
let him
come with
lose his
age.
marbles in
The
peace.
point is he's our president of the United States. He doesn't get excuses for that.
No.
Nobody else has.
Like his wife Jill,
excuses?
his wife Jill is responsible for this because
Yeah.
she should have been like, "No, Joe, you're not in your
Yeah.
right mind.
That's what I'm saying.
We're gonna pull you out of here. I'm your power of attorney, whatever. 25th Amendment his ass, get him out of here. He cannot do his job." But no, she can't do that
No,
because she's been bought and paid for by the U.S. government as well.
well, I don't even think it might not. It could be the government, but I do believe that the deep state that isn't government whatsoever, the same people who have all the evidence I was talking about before, who run those covert, unregulated, unconstitutional programs that they siphon money. I mean, there are people embedded in the U.S. government that work for these select group of people. We know that. But a lot of the people that are working on it doesn't even know that it's not for the U.S. government. The U.S. government doesn't
Right.
even know about these projects. So they're working for these projects thinking they are working for the government. But when in fact, that's why they keep having these congressional meetings about UFOs and having these hearings and stuff, because the people who are supposed to know, the people who are supposed to be told about it, don't know anything about it. And they're supposed to know everything about it. And Greer even said he met with people that literally have black clearance, like the highest clearance for black, even black flag missions and stuff that they've done to the American people. Like even he's met with even those people, and those people don't even know. And actually, he met with a general over in the United Kingdom that is from the Royal Navy. He's like a lord. He's called he's called a
Lord Farquaad.
It's a Lord of the Royal
I
whatever.
thought you were gonna say Lord of the Rings.
But he's like, he has lord status, and he's been in the military his whole entire life. He's done nothing but be a patriot to his country and serve his country in the best interest that he possibly could. And he was fired up when Greer was showing him some of this evidence. He goes, "Why wouldn't they come to me with this stuff? Because I should know these things. I would better be able to protect our people if I knew what these things were and that they were ours. I would know better." Like, he goes, "I don't get why they wouldn't." And he felt like hurt and betrayed. Greer said you could just.
I
see
mean,
the look
as
in
he
his
should.
eye.
I mean, he feels like he's top of the top dog, and he's not.
Yeah. And Greer basically looked at him and said, "It's because you're not a sociopath. They know they can't change you. They can't manipulate you, because that's why they didn't bring you into these projects. They only bring people in that they can blackmail, they can have leverage on, and know that they're not going to talk about them. And that's why they didn't approach you. And they said that's why, how they, like, after years they pick the people they do to do these projects, is because they kind of test them here and there. So, like, they start with a smaller test of, like, testing whether they're going to do the right thing, basically. And when they start realizing, and they give you enough tests that they think they can trust you, like, not to ever come out with anything. Like, there are so much, and I honestly think we should do a whole special on these podcasts, because there is so much things that the world needs to know about that isn't being talked about, that we've had evidence of for the last 60 to 70 years. At the very end of World War II, like, we had the atom bomb. Hitler, they were actually building this anti-gravity device, but didn't get it finished in enough time. That's where one of the devices we got. was from after we went in and we found basically they were rushing to get this device that could you think if the Nazis could make a whole fleet of these vehicles that could do, you know, just boop, gone, like we'd be screwed. They could come bomb US soil, like they would be able to bomb anywhere. No one would be able to attack them. That no one would be able to, you know, do anything about it. So that's what the Nazis were going for, and we were going for the A bomb. Don't get me wrong, they were going for the A bomb too, but we got to the A bomb faster, obviously. And that was their strategy, and ours just so happened to work. But what if there's a different timeline that the Nazis actually got their hands on, was able to finish that craft before we got the A bomb and change the whole dynamic of the war, and we'd still be ruled probably by them now.
Probably.
Even though I still believe that there's probably a little bit of that behind the scenes with these people. These people are full of, they come from Raytheon. They come from, all the big companies that you already know are a bunch of high moneyed, overpaid, zealous assholes that, have more money than they know what to do with. So what do? They invest it with these black projects because that's how they get funded. You know, how, like the $300 hammer thing. Well, Greer also said that like the money's being funneled off from the American taxpayer and funneled into basically to fund these projects. So it's pretty messed up crap. We're paying for these projects too. Like out of all, like they proved that like the B-10, like the old stealth bomber, right? That they say is like took a $1.5 billion to build. You could actually build it with like 150 million, not billion. They're saying 1.5 billion. 150 million if they would have just, not overcharged and overpriced. And think of that on a whole entire military, on every airplane that's built in the military. The same thing. Think of that with every tank, every piece of equipment overcharged so that they can work on these black projects illegally, unconstitutionally, and without oversight of the US government. They're their own, they think they're above the law, and that needs to stop. These things need to come out. Could you think it could change the whole world? These energy devices that they're using to power these things, if they could turn it and use it for good, you would get rid of fossil fuels. Everybody could have a little mini reactor in their car or whatever produces that little black box or whatever that's powering all that energy to be able to cause a frequency. I mean, I think it's sound waves. Like somehow it's whatever it's touching is creating a gravitational bubble around the outside of it, which creates lift because anything that's anti, if the laws of gravity does not affect it, it will float. Like it's crazy to think about. And the fact that we have our own fleet basically of flying saucers that they said that there's actually, and I don't know how true this is, but the thought was very provoking. Could you imagine if they do have these things and they're out in the cosmos right now? Like they said there's actually a secret fleet that are out in the cosmos because they have a direct energy weapon that actually is real. That's what downs the alien crafts, like that come into our atmosphere and stuff. Like they hit it with this basically. What? What the heck was that? What was that, dude? Are you there? Can't hear you. That was probably the weirdest thing ever. So, Emily, I think this would be a good um stopping point because there's something I have to discuss with you of what I just saw. I'm just gonna say this right now. I think I'm just gonna say it because I guess if I'm open about it, then I guess it's if I if any of us come up missing, then it isn't a big, whatever. When that was just glitching out, like everybody probably just saw, like Emily's video stream, like she was gone for a second, like it kicked her out, and there was like it looked like almost like a dark room and someone's sitting in there all shadowed out, and I could see like in the background like a little thing like a bookshelf. It doesn't look anything like Emily's screen, and it's like somebody was scrambling our recording for a second. Like I know that sounds really conspiracy as it is, but I'm telling you right now, like I do believe somebody was just listening in and cut into our broadcast live on the air to prove a point. Like, is it bad that I'm talking about this? I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But like it's not like what difference can I make, right? But I will say this, don't, because that was weird. And I am gonna say tonight, we didn't really get much into more than talking about the conspiracies that I saw on the podcast, but um yeah, we kind of got off track, but talking's talking, and I like to talk about all different kinds of stuff, but we're also going to delve into paranormal stuff a lot. Like next week, I'm going to have my friend Daniel on, and he's the spirit seeker. Go look at his stuff. He's going to be joining us, and I'm gonna ask him some questions, and we're just gonna shoot the crap about paranormal and paranormal experiences we've had, and paranormal experiences that he's had, and go more into depth about it. But tonight, after I just saw that little tidbit, um, I don't know if I can go back and watch it and see if I see the same thing, if it's on there or not. If only I saw it, I don't know. But I will tell you guys, that was probably the weirdest thing I have ever seen. It looked like a guy, like a dark silhouette of a guy sitting in a chair, and it wasn't Emily's background whatsoever. And I saw like a little bookshelf in the background a little bit, and I saw like a little silhouette of a man. It was weird. Are you there, Emily?
Yeah, whoa. Yeah, close up is not.
Like, what's been going on?
It literally just everything froze and then shut down. I don't
Okay,
know
well,
what you guys, I don't know what you could see, but I was like freaking the fuck out over here because
hold on.
I didn't
You're gonna
touch anything.
Okay, so maybe we ruffled a feather because
It's
Emily,
possible.
listen to me. Listen
I'm
to me. I
already
just
probably already on a government watch list,
so
so it doesn't
you
surprise me.
you didn't see what I saw, because what I saw was what basically everything started echoing. Like it was like like went
Mm-hmm.
crazy, and it kind of kicked you off, right? But like as I
Mm-hmm.
saw you leave, it showed like the other bubble window of somebody. It was like a silhouette of a person sitting at a computer
Shut up.
like I no, I swear on everything. I swear on everything. There was a
Ugh.
guy sitting in a computer chair, and over in the corner I could see his desk, like a bookshelf in the back. And I know for a fact it isn't yours whatsoever. It is not your stream. I think somebody cut in and just showed that little clip but it was I couldn't see a person whatsoever. I saw maybe from like this down, and it was all what I did see of the person sitting there was all black. It was like they had the light shut off at the computer, and in the background there was a little bit of a lighting that lit up the bookshelf behind them. I'm not joking at all.
That's so
I
fucked up.
and I even told you, and you probably couldn't hear me, but I said I was going to cut this so that I could go back and fast forward to the end and see if it shows what I saw where you were supposed to be, like on the screen right here, like
Yeah.
that we're staring at. It was where I'm at now on the screen, but it was where you were. But like it was like
Oh,
repeating
because
the
we're swapped now. Yeah, got it.
yeah, yeah, we're flipped, but it was basically where I'm at now. And it was like a complete silhouette and
I was
like the
just fucking
desk.
sitting here like this with my arms crossed, listening to you talk, and the shit started going nuts. And so, like, I just unplugged it, shut everything down, and restarted it and signed back in.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
So you heard the repeating, the echo, like
Oh
just
yeah,
going.
that's why everything was glitching probably because somebody must have been cutting in at the time and fucking
I
shit
think
up.
I think somebody cut in for a second and just sat there for a second and then cut out. I don't think that if they did, they didn't know that they're. I
Because
mean,
I
I would
even
have.
texted you and I said I'm glitching. And
Well, the reason why I'm so weirded out about it is I was trying to make sense of it, and then the more I stared at it for a second, I
you
realized
sure
that
it wasn't
wasn't.
like me?
No, it was not you. That's why I was getting ready to just say, like, the more I was staring at it, I was thinking it was you, but then I realized that I could make out like a shadow, and
Like
then I
this is a
saw
TV right
it
here.
wasn't
That's
blurred
my
out in the back.
closet.
It wasn't blurred out. There was nothing blurred out.
Really?
There was no blurriness. I could see their literally their bookshelf behind them being lit up.
That's fucked up.
It is. It's one of the most
I'm gonna
fucked
have to
up
ask
things I've
Chris
ever
because I don't
seen.
know if he's watching right now or not, but I'll have to ask him and see
I
if
know I'm live on
that.
Facebook. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for the f bombs tonight. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. All I
I
know is
mean,
that
maybe.
that right there. If we're doing a conspiracy documentary, whatever, if that's recorded and I hope it's saved, if we go back and see it and it's someone sitting there like that, I'm gonna lose my crap. I'm gonna blast this all over the world, and that's why at first, at first I wasn't even gonna tell anybody. I was just gonna say, okay, I'm gonna end it and end the show off. I said I went over what I was gonna talk about next week, and then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I was like, it probably will save my life better because if I come up missing, I want people to
There's
question
record. There's record of
because
it.
yeah, exactly. If it's on video and on record of me saying that there's a person I saw cut in, um, hey, at least
I
that
mean, we
gives me a
weren't really
little
saying anything
security.
that hasn't already
No,
been said. So like,
no,
I'm not too concerned, but obviously
no.
somebody's watching us.
But we also don't have the protection that Stephen Greer has. Like he has legit security services. He had
No, I get
three
that.
three three people on his team, three or four people on his team were killed in 2001. They were offed and made it look like it wasn't like
Like
yeah.
a, self-harm kind of thing.
No, no. Wasn't even self-harm. It was like legit like
I just don't want to say the word because unalived.
no. I know when on live you can't say certain things, which is that's why what's part of the problem. You're gonna hurt people's feelings. Those people don't have to watch. If you don't like what I have to say, and this goes forever, I will
Keep
never be
scrolling.
mad if you shut this podcast off and go do something else. Because quite honestly, I don't really sit around. I mean, I watch podcasts like I watch like YouTube videos about this kind of stuff. So like I get it if people want to listen in or whatever, and our shows will get better. Like I'm gonna start editing them so I can put stuff in and make it a little bit more visual for
Well,
people
we
to
can
see
also
certain
like
things.
figure out how to put that stuff in when we're on live too. So like it's possible to do. We're new. We're
Yeah,
learning.
but like we didn't really go into a lot of different ones, but one of the big ones that I think we should at least talk about. Everybody knows about the Roswell incident. Like
Oh yeah.
that's like probably the biggest government cover up that's been proven, like with enough whistleblowers and evidence that literally the government was the one who reported it, that they had flying saucers, and like,
Well, and
yeah.
then they redacted everything and said,
Yeah,
"No, we
because they
don't."
got in trouble. They got in
Psych.
trouble. The government, big government was like, "Hey,
You don't have shit.
no, you don't have
Take that out.
anything.
We have
You
it. You
have
don't.
you have air balloons."
Yep.
Like
Weather
like
balloons.
Jedi stuff, like you had weather balloons, not a UFO. You did not have flying saucers. I don't know what you're talking about. But we were there. All your guys saw everything wrong, don't you know? But
Well, I
that's
mean, that was
probably one of
also
the
back in what, 1947?
47.
It was right
July
around 4th
8th.
of July.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right after 4th of July. So, like, the movie Independence Day kind of has some sort of truth to it. Like, if you think about it.
Well, from what I've heard is the government's planning on staging a, like, an alien, something to make it a one, like, that's like kind of weird because the Bible kind of talks about like a one world, like, order, and
New
basically,
World Order.
yeah, but basically that's what they're going to come, like, it's going to come to that. They're going to basically come out with this stuff, and there's possibility of using holographs. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, I don't know where it's from, but I remember hearing or reading about it from somebody saying that that's like part of the one step of the plan is to fake an alien invasion, and bring us all together underneath one big superpower kind of thing. Like, have you ever heard of like the Havana syndrome, where like in Cuba, like they had like records of like headaches, like a voice in their head,
Yeah,
like admitting that it sounds like somebody like in with their
talking
own
to them.
voice was talking and trying to convince them to do things. Kind of weird, you hear about these people say, "Oh, the devil made me do it," or stuff like this, and
God was talking to me.
not all of them were even diagnosed with multiple, personalities or schizophrenia. Not every person that's said that has been, you know, a whack job. But I guess people in Cuba and other places that were having this happen, like, it had long
Oh,
term
shit.
effects, like heavy fatigue, heavy,
Oh,
all
I got
different
some
kinds
heavy
of
fatigue.
crazy. I know, I felt like it's just it's so weird that they could be using these weapons against the population and testing them, and we wouldn't have any clue. Like, we would have no idea.
None.
Like
I
did
mean, the
you
people that are aware of these things might know, but the normal people, the people that aren't conspiracy theorists or don't do their research or just believe what they're told, they would be like, "Oh yeah, this is just my problem." The government would never do that to me.
yeah, and another part about, like, the crash, like, you have all these people, like, the Roswell crash, you had all these people that were witnesses to this. Like, this wasn't just only the military, whatever, like, people were witness they had a thing where they're showing materials that
Mm-hmm.
broke off, and they said that it was like nothing they had ever seen before. It was material that was almost like aluminum,
From
except it
another
wasn't.
world is what the news article had said, that it was material from another world.
That they were super light, but super strong. But I just it boggles my mind that you can just silence a whole public, by just saying, like, sticking to the story and just never admit to it. Like Area 51, they tried saying forever that wasn't
It didn't
nothing.
exist.
It was nothing. It's just nothing. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. Like
Yeah.
that's what they just kept saying. Oh, that's just, you know, would tell people, "Oh, you believe in conspiracy theories, huh?" And then it came out that yeah, Area 51's very
Yeah.
real. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And now you can go right up to the gate. I
You don't want
mean,
to go past that gate because you might get
no,
shot.
you'll get
But
killed. It's
yeah.
still testing grounds. It's testing
Mm-hmm.
grounds for different hangars and stuff. Like Bob Lazar is the name I was trying to think of.
Bob Lazar, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's the guy that like said that there was element 119, and people tried laughing. That's not on the periodic table. Blah 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 blah. Well, guess what is a new element? That's element 119. That's exactly what he said
Yeah,
it was.
everybody tried to say that Bob Lazar was crazy. He was a
Oh yeah.
psychopath. Like he was
Well,
completely out of his mind. Don't trust him. Like they tried to frame him like he is just this piece of shit
yeah,
when
because
all
he
he's
came out.
doing is spitting facts.
Yeah, because the people who are behind those projects that don't want anybody to know about it, that's what they do. They defame
Mm-hmm.
you, they defame your character, they make up stories, and
They
you know
try
how the
and
media is.
frame you to
They
look stupid.
they run with a story before they get the answers. They'll
Right,
say
yeah.
allegedly, but they'll still say it. You know what I mean? Like even
Yep.
if they know that it might not be true, they'll still say it and
Well, it's
just
because
say,
they want
"Oh
to be the
well."
first to break the story. They want to be the
Exactly.
first one to be talking about it.
They don't care
So,
whose feelings they hurt because,
mm,
well, the media company that's running it is paid off by them, so they're gonna run whatever gets told to them or else. Like, I guess Bob Lazar, he's witnessed a lot of things that he's not supposed to see. Um, so is a lot of whistleblowers that were on money drop offs to big media members, like cash, duffel bags full of cash, and wouldn't name names, but like big names in the media business
mm-hmm.
having money dropped off to them for their to do basically they're bought and paid for. I mean, basically told that if any you have anybody on your show and they're talking about these things, you are not going to broadcast it. You're not going to air it. You're not going to even entertain the thought of it. If you're going to do anything, you discredit them, and that's all you do. And that's why you ever think that even the guys that have came out, which um like the one guy from the military that kind of broke the 2017 story that released like the footage and stuff. And then like the one guy that says I can't remember his name. I should be better with this. I've watched it enough. I should know the guy's name, but he's kind of like he was the videos that were just done with all this stuff of them having the congressional hearings. It was the one military guy that was ex-military, but he briefed President Obama, and it almost kind of like a Greer
I know
type
who you're talking
scenario.
about. I
But
cannot think of his
he
name.
he kept saying that like I know people that's told me about seeing bodies, but he never actually saw them himself. Like secondhand stories, like
Hearsay, yeah.
a lot of those secondhand stories like that are fabrications. People like that are being almost made to run with a narrative because that narrative does these group of people a better in a sense because a lot of them are black flag operations to make us believe they're aliens, but they're actually not aliens. They're making us assume there's an exponential threat coming from these extraterrestrials, and they're not a threat to us. If they wanted to wipe us out, they could wipe us out. We'll just say that very clearly and very honestly. If they didn't want the human race to exist, they have way even with the capabilities we have having these crafts that we've replicated from them, they are still advanced beings that can literally travel between dimensions. That's why they can get from one star system that's 200 million light years away. Something that if you were traveling at the speed of light, it would still take 200 million years at that speed to get here. They can get here because they slide into the different dimension and pop out
Right.
in a different space time. So it's like going instantaneous from them. It's instant. They slide in basically and pop out, and they jump back and forth between these things. Basically, if they want to be seen, they allow themselves to be seen, not because of anything like we're like doing anything about it. They allow themselves to be seen. If they don't want to be seen, they could just hide right behind the shades, man, in a sense, because they can slip in and out. They wouldn't be seen. So, but the problem is they have the US is actually, and it's more like a it's a world kind of thing. It's not just the United States that's behind these black unconstitutional things. It's worldwide club of people, like all the rich, not all the rich, but a
The
lot of the
elite.
rich, the super elite, the 0.00001%, more like the along the lines
Hmm.
that are behind it. But it's just crazy to think about, really, that they are doing black flag operations, legit are doing black flag operations to make us believe that aliens could be a threat, when in all actuality they're not a threat. They're If they wanted us gone, I mean, if they were a threat, we'd be over. That's why they're not a threat. It's just that simple.
Right.
Like, I don't know what more people need to know. Like, they
They
can
are the
literally
advanced
teleport.
beings. We are
They
not.
can they basically teleport in a sense. They slip in one dimension out the other. That's kind of like
Well, and
teleporting.
who's to say they can't freaking time travel too? Like,
Exactly.
you know, I mean,
Well,
that's a whole nother topic, but like the time travel aspect of it is really the only way that they can get to certain places at the exact certain times that they need to be there.
you remember Eisenhower, he was at the very end of like the 60s or whatever, but he was a general, and so he was in World War II as a big general, and that's pretty much, General Eisenhower was in charge of basically the W that we got in World War II. So he was in on all the government type stuff, and then becoming president and everything. At the end of his presidency, he did this big speech talking about the military industrial complex, and basically saying that he kind of admitted that there will be times where we need to stop people who abuse the powers, like the powers that they have. And he kind of felt, I guess, there's actually whistleblower testimony for people who worked in the Eisenhower very close to him, and was quoting Eisenhower and some of the stuff he was saying behind closed doors, so to speak, of talking about that this group of elites were, even back then, that they had the capabilities, and he thought in his own mind that we should be doing something for humanity by making these things, known to the public, to start advancing the human race. But they don't want to advance the human race. They want everything to stay exactly as it is. They have the power, full power. They're untouchable. They they run Black Flag. They're controlling our society. I mean, we think we have freedoms, but we don't. We really don't. If people can operate outside the law like that, and that goes with the experiments they've ran on people. Like, Bob was not Bob, but Greer said that all the abduction cases so far are false flag operations, that they're made to look like aliens did it, but aliens never did. They don't have any reason. They've been studying us for millions of years or thousands of years. They 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 don't need to abduct us. They have no reason to. And that's the part where it's weird is that they go out of their way that much to make it look like something else so that it's a threat. So we appear that the aliens are a threat to us. When in all actuality, they want the best for us. They want us,
They're trying to protect us. Yeah.
they want us to join them in the cosmos. They supposedly there's this big thing about there was a secret meeting between the aliens and the president back after World War II. Like they had a meeting, and supposedly, from what I've watched on TV and stuff, is that's a bunch of bull. That's a bunch of bull too. Everybody just wishes that it's real, but they did say that there was contact, but there wasn't like a treaty signed. Like there wasn't, oh, we'll allow you to abduct this many people, and well, it wasn't like that. And by the sounds of it, is after they started using, they have this gun that actually is it's like a pulse weapon that knocks these crafts down and temporarily disables them, or sometimes completely disables them and they crash. And then that's how we recovered them. Supposedly that's the reason why the one in Roswell happened, is they were catching a blip on the radio, they fire this thing up and it sends out a pulse and knocks them out of the sky and disables their craft temporarily, and depending on how high they are. But there was one, he was Bob, he not Bob, I keep saying Bob, I think I just like saying Bob. um there was this one that was nuts. It was a crazy story. I was like, I don't, I have a hard time believing it, but it was a guy who first person witnessed them knocking this out, and they were going to retrieve it. They go out there with like everything to retrieve the craft, but the craft is actually landed and it isn't damaged at all, and it's just sitting there. And I guess they're getting close to the craft to inspect it or whatever. And soon as they see like the gate ramp open up, and
Mm-hmm.
immediately at that point they were completely transported back to the base they came from, and
Yeah,
they
I
had no
remember
idea.
watching there was a Ancient Aliens or something of the sort documentary on Discovery or something about these two guys that were on patrol that night.
And like they got completely transported right back to where
Yeah, and they don't
their
have
base
any
was.
recollection of how they got there.
Not at all. They were like it's like they phased them, like beam me up Scotty their ass all the way
Like
back to
Men
their
in
base.
Black, stare right here. We're gonna wipe your memory clean.
And then at the same time, some of them said like there wasn't even, their memory wasn't wiped. They remember feeling like they weren't a threat, that they were basically told that we're not here to threaten you. We don't want anything, we don't wish harm. But like it's getting to the point like that the aliens are worried because we have this capability and they're not using it for good. There's these people using it for bad, and it's going to cause hell for the rest of us, because if they're a threat to the cosmos, they're going to shut that shit down.
Right.
Like if we're a threat to all these other civilizations that are completely peaceful and have basically evolved to be non-threatening to other species like humans are. I mean, we can't get along. Like I always made the joke of no wonder why aliens haven't like shown that they're there, is like because when they drive by Earth, they're like, lock the doors, honey. Like these people are savages. Like look at us. We don't act like we're advanced people like we claim to be. There's still war going on. Like for what? Why is there war still being fought at this point? Like it's all over power. It's
Power, money,
stuff that is literally paper.
land.
Like and it's all of our land. Really, we're the ones who decided to start selling it and turning it into, I mean, it's like the animals don't, I mean, the animals are more evolved than we are, if you think about it. I mean, they only kill one another to eat one another. Like
Mm,
we kill one another just to do it because of a piece of
we don't
paper that,
agree with each other.
yeah, animals don't do that.
I mean,
I mean,
some animals will fight,
they have,
but
yeah, but
it's
they're
more
not
over territory.
yeah,
They're
it's more fighting
territorial.
and they're not trying to do it. They don't kill each other. The one realizes the other one has more power or beats them and they
Dominance. Yeah.
walk away. And then they come at their ass again down the line and try to get it back, whatever. And I guess that's we kind of work that way, I guess. Kind of. Ain't the same. Most of it's for mating rights and all this other kind of stuff. They're not doing it for the same reasons we are.
No, we're doing it because we didn't like the way that somebody said something to our face, or somebody posted something on Facebook that really made them mad. So they decided that they were going to take matters into their own little hands.
Or yeah, I mean, so many different.
Like,
There's so many different, like, so stupid.
there's human emotions make people do crazy things.
Yeah. And the thing is they want us to be divided. They want us fighting. That's why they do these false things. That's why they lead narratives and poke the bee's nest. They poke it.
No,
They
because
poke the
if we were
hive.
united,
Oh, there's nothing
this
that could
shit
stop
wouldn't
us.
happen.
Exactly. I mean, the whole saying, united we stand, divided we fall. I mean,
I
we're
mean, we're
divided
falling pretty damn hard.
and we're fallen. And I mean, if no one can see that, then they're blind or they're naive
You
because,
know,
or
I
both.
heard, who was it? What was that guy's name? Charlie Kirk. I really like him. He says things that kind of tick people off in a
Yeah,
sense. But
because he makes a
what
point. They
he
don't like it.
somebody had asked him at one of his shows that he was at a college, and they had asked him, "Why are you out here doing this?" And his response was, "Well, when communication dies, everything dies.
Yeah,
If we can't sit and have an open dialogue about our disagrees, what we disagree about, that's a problem."
yeah,
He goes, "What we really need to get back to is to be able to disagree, but still be able to be friends and still get along and still make sure the country is getting what it needs. Just
yeah.
because I don't agree with you doesn't mean we can't be friends." Like, in what world is it that, like, humans are the only people that do this, but just because you don't agree with somebody, you're not allowed to talk to them anymore, or
Yeah,
they're bad, or they're evil, or they're a terrible human being, or a bigot, or a racist, or
because
whatever, just because
they
they
have
don't view the world the same way you do.
exactly. That's the problem.
And
Is
we need to get back to pre social media, I guess, to where if you said something, be like, "Oh, I don't agree with that, but I mean, I guess we'll move on and we'll just go do this that we do agree on." Like,
well,
you find your commonalities and you build your community based on common ground versus build your community based off of what you don't agree with somebody. Like, people look at the negative more than they look at the positive, and that's a problem.
yeah. I mean, if we came together as a people, and this is worldwide, not just in the United States. I mean, it has to start somewhere. But like the things we could accomplish far outweigh the things that we couldn't. Because if everybody could come together, think of that. All the brightest minds in the world working on projects together. All people from China, people from all over the world working on the same things, not trying to beat the other one to getting the same thing out. Can you imagine if they all just openly spoke to one another about different projects? I mean, I believe that cancer, they've already found the cure to cancer a long time ago, and that pharmaceutical companies have too much to lose with that. And I don't really have any, like, proof. Not that they would allow proof to really be out there, per se, but I've heard of different remedies and different things that have worked for people that,
Oh yeah.
but that's stuff that they even say, oh, well, that's not, they have to say because it doesn't, the FDA, they can't say it does cure cancer because if they said it does cure cancer, then the FDA would shut them down. So they have to literally say a disclaimer that says, take this product at your own risk, blah, blah, blah. Because the FDA doesn't, there wouldn't be a Food and Drug Administration. There wouldn't need to be. Imagine if everybody was healthy as you possibly be, no cancer, never have to worry about cancer. Like one of the, like, think about that for a second.
I mean,
That,
there's a
that,
lot of people that get cancer now.
yeah, more than ever. It's because of what the government allows them to put in your food, but are so worried about other things, the little stuff that really doesn't matter, but they're
Yeah,
so worried
cancer
about.
stick, Adam.
Hmm.
Talking about cancer and you light up a damn cigarette.
That's why we started talking about it and reminded me about it. Like, I've been puffing on my vape all fine. And I'm like, you know what? I think
Let's
it
get us
sounds
some
good.
cancer.
Like, they got the cure to it, right? I'll be
Somewhere.
okay.
Somebody does.
Maybe before I die, it'll come out. I mean, they pretty much got the cure to AIDS now. So, I mean, I found out that you can basically cure um, all the different hepatitis can be cured now
Hmm.
with a couple shot remedies now, like a couple doses. Isn't that nuts? Like
That is
stuff they
crazy.
said were forever stuff, like AIDS. You can literally
I
be
mean,
with
it is. You
somebody
still
who.
have it. It doesn't
I
get
mean,
rid of it.
well, they're saying that
It
they
just treats
stop.
it.
Well, they also have drugs that prevent it. That literally you take it if
Right.
you're with
Yeah.
a partner that does have it, and they won't spread it to you. It basically makes you immune to it.
Yeah. It's giving you the virus in a sense, though. It's kind of like the flu shot.
It's like stopping the virus from being able to stay in your body.
Right. Same concept as a flu shot.
It's weird. I mean, stuff that like, and that stuff wasn't even like the how I found out was a fucking commercial for it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it.
It wasn't like it was mainstream news. Like it wasn't put on the news. It wasn't on the
Well, it was
paper. It
probably an
wasn't.
ad on Hulu, wasn't
It
it?
was. I don't know. I don't remember. It might have been.
Because
It
I
was
only see those kind of ads, like the
that or
pharmaceutical
YouTube.
ads, on Hulu. But I don't
That
really
or
watch
YouTube.
YouTube very often.
I don't know. It was
If I
one of them.
do, it's not a lot.
It was one of them, but that's where I saw it for the first time as a commercial, advertising it to sell it. Not, not. So hey, guess what? Somebody managed to find this miracle drug to. They finally figured like nothing like that. It wasn't reported on. It's like they still don't want people to know about it.
Well, no, because you got to keep the people sick.
Oh, pharmaceutical companies want everyone to stay sick. Exactly. That's what they want. They don't want people to be healthy. They wouldn't exist. It's just not right. Everything is anti for the people. It's about making people richer, not about making humanity better. And that's what needs to change. Humanity needs to be better, not worry about if there's going to be abortion ban or not. You need to be worried about whether or not the government wants to take over your life and tell you what to do, because that's what they want to do.
Right.
They have a socialist communist agenda. Even though I saw one person comment like, if Trump becomes president, it's going to be like living in Russia. Well, Trump was pregnant one or not pregnant was
Wow. I
was
mean,
pre-
who's to
was
judge? But
president
okay.
was president, and it wasn't like living in Russia. Quite
No, it was
actually, it
wonderful.
was a lot easier to live. Like
I
groceries
can
were
afford groceries, no
130. Yeah,
problem.
like you don't have to get a
It's
second
funny.
job to put groceries on
We're
the
talking
table.
about groceries real quick. Side note, somebody pulled up an order from 2020. No, it was like,
It was 2020. I saw it.
yeah, it was from 2020, and their bill was like $74 for like 31 items, which, I mean, now 31 items is not $71. But he noticed on his Walmart app that he could reorder all of those same items. So he put them all in the cart, and it was $472.
Yeah, it was like 135% markup in
Oh no, it was
cost.
more than that. I think what it was like 108.81, I think is what it was. I don't know, don't quote me on that, but I'll find the video and we'll put it in here, but it's insane because I've done that. Like I've bought the same dog food for my dogs for years. I mean, even the dogs that I had prior to the dogs that I have now, it's been the same dog food. And it used to be $28. That was at the peak of it starting to get expensive when I noticed it was $28. I just bought it because, I mean, I had to buy it. Now, that same bag of dog food, it's actually 13 pounds now, not 15 pounds, but I'm paying $38 for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
not only am I getting 2 pounds less of dog food, but I'm spending $10 more on it,
Yeah.
which is
And
bullshit.
it is because, I mean, this is how I look at it. Okay. Bidenomics obviously don't work because if they
It's
did,
called Bidenomics.
and they'd say that it's getting better, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Maybe inflation slowed, but it
It's
hasn't
getting
made the
better for the
products.
rich.
Yeah, because they're just getting richer and giving us less product. Shrinkflation. Look it up, folks.
Exactly.
They give you less product, charge you more for it. That's what they've been doing. That's what, if you haven't noticed, your portions and stuff that have gotten smaller with some of the things, a lot of the
Like
things.
the can of Pringles. I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not,
I
but
just said something about this. I was in the
did you?
store. I picked it up
Because
and
the can
I
of
picked it up and went,
Pringles,
really? And threw it back down. I went, this is bullshit.
yeah, it went from being, I don't know, like a foot long tall, because it
Yeah.
used to not fit in my cabinet.
Yeah.
Like it used to not fit in my cabinet at all. And that's how I noticed, because I used to have to lay them down. Now I can put them in my cabinet just fine,
Yeah.
standing straight up. And no, it's not because they changed the packaging. Yes, they changed the packaging, but they also changed the amount of product
Yeah.
in the packaging.
Yeah. That they're trying to
So,
find
like, it
ways
used
to
to be
push
like
it past the
16
customer.
ounces, I think is what it was, which is like a pound, I think, right?
Yeah.
16 ounces is a pound.
Yeah.
Anyhow, um, and now it's 14. You're getting 2 less ounces
Yeah, they're doing
than
it
what you
all
were
across the
before.
board with stuff. Like, not everything. Like, a gallon of milk's still a gallon of milk because, like,
Right.
they can't really change
Maybe.
it.
I mean,
I
have you
mean,
actually taken it out and measured it? Because I mean, I know I've bought a pound of meat before and got it home, and it definitely was a pound of meat.
it didn't seem like it. A
Walmart
few
got in
times.
trouble for that. I don't know if you heard about that, but they were selling meat by the pound and say it was 2 pounds was $14, right? So it was $7 a pound. When actually they were selling it for $14, but it was only a pound and a half.
Yeah, I do remember hearing
There was
something
a
about them
lawsuit
getting in
over it.
trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm trying to say is these companies that don't need more money, they could literally, and you see that they all the food waste that they put out too. That instead of giving it away to people who could that they could feed,
Right.
all these companies could literally feed all the homeless. There wouldn't be
Like if
one
you go out back
child.
to a grocery store, you can
Yeah,
see so much food getting thrown away. Like the bread that's still
yeah,
good.
and you
It
can't
just is
take it.
past its best by date. It's still good,
And if you go
but
back
you
there
can't
during the
take it. They
daylight,
have to destroy it.
yeah, yeah, if you go back there during daylight and someone sees you taking out of, they can arrest you for theft, even though it's being thrown in the garbage.
No, they can't.
Make that make sense.
They can't arrest you for that. They can call the cops and the cops can come and tell you to leave, but
But if you're
they can't
taking
arrest you.
product, if they see you taking product, they can.
Well, maybe in
I-
Indiana, but
I'm
in
not. I'm
Texas,
not
people do
saying.
dumpster diving all the time,
I
and
know that, but
people
it's
get in
illegal.
trouble.
Yeah.
But not here. Not
I'm
here.
just
Once it's
saying,
thrown
like,
in the trash
if
can,
they
it's no longer property.
if they catch you taking it out of their trash, and like you have your whole car stuff packed full of it,
Mm-hmm.
and the cops show up on the scene, and they weren't just going to tell you to leave with all that stuff in your car. You will get arrested for theft. Walmart will press charges against you if you do that.
Maybe Walmart, but not here in Texas.
Well, it just
They can't do that here.
regardless, what they
Because
shouldn't even be able to tell you to leave.
there's this person that I follow on the old Tickety Talk that does dumpster diving here in Texas, like at Bed Bath and Beyond and Victoria's Secret and all these places where they just throw stuff in there, and it's still perfectly good, like a whole blanket that's still wrapped, like just because they can't sell it anymore, it's out of season or whatever, like
Yeah.
they just throw it in the trash. Like
Well, that's what I'm
there's not
saying.
homeless people on the fucking street that can't use a blanket. Give me a fucking break.
And then they'll brag, and this is what kills me the most. You'll go into a Walmart, like go to where they have their service desk and everything, where they brag about how much money they gave to charity this year so far.
Yeah.
And they like brag about the $1 million that they've given to charity.
Mm-hmm.
$1 million.
Their tax write off.
Oh, $1 million. Oh, a multi-billion
So
dollar
funny
company.
story about those donations. So like I never like if they're like, would you like to round up to so and so charity? No. No, I do not. Because guess what? That company has already donated that money. Okay. And what they're doing is trying to get their money back from you.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
all that is. They've already donated the $1 million to, say, Ronald McDonald House. That's the one I can think of at the top of my head. They've already donated the money to Ronald McDonald House. And now, whatever company is asking for your donation is just trying to get their money back and the tax write off that they got for donating to that charity.
Yeah, that's why you for
And
one,
if
in
they
this day and
make
age,
more
it
than
shouldn't
what
even
they
be.
donated, they don't donate that extra. They keep it.
Yeah, and this is what I tell people: if you want to donate to charity, do it on your own. Don't go through another company to donate to
Right.
charity. Donate to
Donate
charity
directly to the
on your own
charity.
time and do it directly. Don't go through a
And
company
check out the charity in which you're donating
like,
to, because some of
yeah,
them out there are not all what they're cracked up to be.
yeah. If they're for profit, don't donate to them.
Like
Not for
Wounded
most of them.
Warriors, go donate to them. Like, they're one that
My
if
point
anybody
is,
ever asked if I want donated to, you donate it to the Wounded Warriors because there's nobody that deserves it more.
well, in my college class, when we were doing it was an environmental sustainability class, and I learned a lot. And like, I thought that my footprint, even though I don't drive very much or very far or whatever, I still, I guess, my footprint was bigger than I thought by what you eat, all these different kind of stuff. But we got onto the topic of food waste, and food waste is probably the biggest problem that we're facing, is that people need to stop. They throw away so much, like half the food that's grown basically gets thrown away because if it doesn't look right, if it doesn't
Right.
meet the certain looks and everything, then it gets thrown in the
Mm-hmm.
trash.
There is a company now that buys
Oh
those.
yeah, they do.
It's called
But
Misfits
it's
Market, I think
still,
is what it's called.
yeah,
But
there's a couple of
they
them.
buy the stuff that doesn't look pretty, but
And
it
they
still
sell it.
tastes just fine.
Yep. And see, that's one way to do it, but there's still so much going unused and thrown in the dumpster
Yeah,
that
it's disgusting.
there's not enough companies out there to take everything off their hands, and that's sad. But the problem is these companies like Walmart and Kroger and all these big name companies, Target and all of them, instead of donating all of it, they only donate a little bit, just enough
If
for their
they
tax
do.
write off, if they even do. But like, I'll see at food banks and stuff around here, but a lot of times that's people going and buying it with their own money, seeing it like the yellow tag sales and the like whatever. It isn't really Kroger donating to it. A lot of times they go up there and they buy all the cheap stuff from Kroger and then they go put it in the food bank. Like, I don't think that And then sometimes I've heard that Kroger has donated to local food banks and stuff, but they're not donating it all. There's no way that they're donating all of it. Like all if all these companies did that, like if Walmart and Target and all these places donated all their expired or soon to be expired items, then they wouldn't be running out of food at food banks because they do. And food banks are in desperate need of things in this day and age because actually there
There's
for a
more people
minute,
that use them
yeah,
that
more
you
people are using
realize.
them than ever. More people are using them ever because the cost of goods have literally gone up so much in the past 4 years alone that if they cared so much about the American public, then why hasn't the cost the wages gone up? And people will say, "Oh, then they'll just pass the buck on." Well, what if we make laws that say they can't? What's so hard about that? What's so hard
Because they
about
don't want
saying that
to.
it's because they don't want to? But yet minimum wage hasn't changed since was it 2000? It was like it's been over 20 years. The minimum
Hmm.
wage has stayed at the exact same wage. But yet this just goes to show you,
I mean, if you think about it, say minimum wage is 7.25, right? I'm pretty
mhm,
sure that's what it is in most states.
I
Um,
think so.
I think the federal minimum wage is 7.25. Like, if you work for 1 hour, you can go buy a pound of meat.
Yeah.
Buy a pound of hamburger. You have to go work for 1 hour.
Yeah. So I don't, but what about, then you gotta have to think of rent and all that stuff. Like
Like, it's
if
stupid.
and I get people will say, well, the minimum wage is jobs are for those who are just starting out, but that's the thing. They're not classified that way. It
No,
doesn't that policy isn't say, "Oh, this is the
not for
minimum
18 to
wage
20-year-olds.
for
Like, it
for
doesn't
eight." Yeah.
say,
This is supposed
like,
to be the
if you're 18 to
minimum wage.
20,
Yeah.
then you make $7.25 an hour. And if you're 21 to 30, you make this amount. If you're,
Exactly.
there is no set
There's
standard.
no
It's
s
literally
there
the
it
federal
isn't.
minimum wage. And does it say what kind of jobs that
No.
you have to work to make that? Like a
It
burger
just says
flipper, you would think would make minimum wage, but really, some of those burger flippers make $14, $15 an hour now,
yeah. The minimum
which
wage
is
is
what it
was
should be.
made minimum wage was created and set in stone and put there so that you could live at your very minimal with those wages.
Right.
You cannot do that. You cannot go out and rent a house, have a car payment, have insurance, have food on the table, have
You can't
all
even
those
afford
things
health
off
care at 7.25 an
750,
hour.
725, 750, whatever.
You
You
can't afford you
can't
can't
live on
afford
that.
health care. You
So
can't
why
even
is that
afford
not
health
a
care
topic? So
or
so why
gas.
isn't that a big deal? Why isn't that talked about? Because then they're stepping on their donators.
Right.
The people who are making all the donations, they don't want the wages to go up. That's the direct opposite. They don't want that. So of course the politicians aren't going to mention it because they don't want to step on those toes. But that's the problem. That's the problem. That's why if you're a Republican or a Democrat watching this, you need to stop being a Republican or a Democrat. That's the problem. The problem is that's division. That is splitting us. That is
Yeah.
causing all of
I
the
mean, they're both
problems that we
bird
deal with.
like they're both wings of the same bird.
Yes.
So,
Yep. They're definitely that is a great analogy. That is exactly what they are. Both of them still want to control you. They still want, but you should never become a multi-millionaire being a politician. Period. End of story.
yeah,
And there should be term limits. You shouldn't be able to be like Joe Biden and literally have been in a political office for like going on 50
50 years.
years. Nobody. Nancy Pelosi, all these
I
people
mean,
that
if you
that,
think
that
about it, the
it's
amount
ridiculous.
of which has changed from the time they started office until now. They're still stuck in their old ways. They
I'm
don't understand the new world.
No,
that we
well, here
have.
that's why I don't
Because
understand how
they've already
Biden got
done made
elected.
their money. They've already done made their money. They don't
Some
have
of
to
the
worry about it.
Biden's made some of the most racist remarks in history that I've ever seen
Yeah.
anybody make. How the hell is the minorities out there voting for this man?
You don't
This
vote for me,
man,
you ain't black.
yeah, like that. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. How can you say that and still get elected? How can you
The
still
poor kids are just as bright and smart
because
as
you're
the black
voting out of
kids.
hatred? Because you're voting out of hatred. That's why. That you're like,
Yeah.
which one do I hate less? That's who I'm going to vote for.
Which is
Not for
sad that it comes to that. That it
uh,
comes to who is the lesser of the two evils.
what has Joe Biden done though? That's what kills me
Nothing.
is
Except
whenever
for
he
make our
was
country
running,
shit.
when he was running, like I wanted to hear something that he's done. Like most of the time, like it'll be the bills, the stuff that he's voted on and stuff like that. Like this man was still in office while they were still desegregating schools. That should
Right.
tell you this man should not be even in the running for
Well, didn't
president.
he say something about a racial jungle?
Yeah, he said that. He didn't it
Um,
was a school bill. It was about
yeah.
it
Yeah.
was some school bill back in the day, and he was against it because he
Yeah,
didn't want
he didn't want
he
the
yeah,
racial jungle to
he
be
didn't
integrated with the white kids.
yeah, he didn't want them coming into his districts, basically. He didn't want that race of people around. But yeah, and then what kills me the most too is you voted for a man, you're trying to say that Roe versus Wade, the man's a Catholic. Does people not realize that Joe Biden is a Catholic? Do you realize that he doesn't even believe in birth control or abortion? And that's the man you stand behind and say,
Yep.
"Oh yeah, he cares about that." No, he doesn't. It's against his religion. They just keep that quiet. They say he's at church. His church is Catholic. So if you know anything about Catholics, is well, they're they're the ones
They're
who
pretty
don't believe
strict
in. They're
when it
pretty strict.
comes to the whole birth control
Yeah,
and
they're
whatever.
against
Like
it. They're
it's pretty
against even
strict.
condoms. They're even
Well,
against
you're not supposed
condoms.
to be doing anything unless you're married.
Exactly. So this Joe Biden guy, like you voted for him because he's standing up there trying to read a teleprompter the best he can. Pause. Oh, sorry. Um,
Said the quiet
but
part out loud.
right, yeah. Seriously, look at the man's values. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying Trump is a perfect guy, but here's the thing: a guy that doesn't need to be in office. He could go do whatever the hell he wants. He
He
doesn't
could go golf
need
18 holes every day.
he could go retire on a private island and never have to worry about another human being ever again as long as he lives. And none of it will affect him. Like he chooses to literally stand in the line of fire. When I
I
say
mean,
literally,
he
he has already
he
now.
literally went 4 years as our president and didn't take a single penny for it.
Yeah.
He was the only president in U.S. history
He had
that
to
was
donate it
president.
because they had to send the money out
Well,
regardless, but he donated
well,
it all.
what it was he's the only president in U.S. history to come out with less money than what he came in.
Yeah, that should tell you everything. And that's what I'm trying to get at. What I'm saying is, if you're going to sit up there and say that this man's better than the other, then you better come with facts
Right.
because you don't have a right to come up there and spit venom at Trump when you don't know anything about Biden. Just the fact he's not Trump, that's the only
Punch
reason. So
man
you're
bad.
voting. So you're voting out of pure hatred. Do you not already see where this is an issue? If you're
Well,
voting
see,
out of
my thing
pure
is
hatred,
like I had asked a I guess Biden supporter like what how has your life changed for the better since Biden has been in office? And they couldn't come up with a single freaking thing.
yeah,
I said,
because there isn't
I can
anything.
tell you about 500 different ways in which my life was better under Trump.
Yeah. That's the point I've been getting with people too. Is like, you can hate Trump all you want.
Vote for yourself and for your family. Don't
Yeah,
vote on what you think society thinks you should vote.
yeah. Your ideologies don't put food on the table. Like and that's the truth. Like, you can sit there and be like, "Well, I don't like him because he did this, this, and this." Well, then somebody can come up and tell you, "Well, Biden did this, this, and this. He's been in
Well, I
politics for
don't care.
50
He
years."
he he did blah 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 blah.
Yeah, but he didn't. He didn't erase student debt.
Like that's the thing. Like you can come up with five
Like,
different things why
all
Biden is a terrible human, and yet they're like find a way to justify it somehow.
yeah, there's always a justification. Me, I just say, yeah, if they're like, "Well, you're gonna vote for Trump," like, well,
Yeah.
out of the two candidates that you guys are giving me, which I am gonna say suck. You're giving me two candidates that, like, I wish I didn't have to vote on again. Oh, I guess I don't have to vote on Biden because he dropped out. But the next best thing, nah,
Kamala, give me a
nah,
break.
that's the best you got, dude. Like, that's still the best you got. Like, you couldn't even throw somebody in there that maybe could do something. Nah, nothing. You have nothing, and you're just running with the same crap that Biden. You're basically standing behind everything that Biden was going for. What did Biden do? He did nothing. He pulled out of Afghanistan, caused absolute hell on the Afghan people, and had
Also on American troops.
American troops were killed in the process of that. He was
And the fact
told,
that they now have American weaponry that
yeah,
they use to shoot down, you know.
yeah, to kill
There was
innocent
missiles
people with
found
now.
in Russia. Did you hear about this? There was missiles found in Russia that had American US like property of US government on the side of them,
Oh, I believe it.
but they were
I'm
being
sure they were
shot from
sold to them.
Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So, who are they going to hold responsible, Ukraine or us?
So, and this too, like, if you're gonna use that as a stepping stone of saying, well, he got us out of Afghanistan, then he jumped us into another war right after that,
Mm-hmm.
because war is
One that's
money.
not our problem.
One that really isn't. It's the Europe's problem. It needs to stop being always the United States problem, what other countries do. That's why they all hate us. That's why. Because we go in for reasons not what we say they are. We're
They're
there to
not pure
free them.
reasons.
We're not there to free them. We're there for other reasons. And we all know this, but we try to play some people try to play stupid to it. But the truth. We don't go fight these wars for the people. Not at
It's so
all.
that they can owe us in the long run.
It's because it's a moneymaker.
Or we owe them already. So, I mean, that could.
Well, government contracts and war's nothing but money. Every bullet, everything that's built, everything, it's nothing but uh, the war industrial complex. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And it isn't about the people and freeing anybody ever. It's about how much money can we make by starting another war, because it's nothing but dollar signs. And that's it. Because that those rollbacks, the people who start these wars, they always have the money coming back to them somehow. I mean, it's just the truth. But we're at the 2 hour mark, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. I
Yeah.
think we're at 2 hours of talking about everything but
Randoms.
conspiracy theories.
I
I don't know.
mean,
We
no,
we
not
talked
everything,
about we
but we
talked
talked
we
about quite
talked
a few.
we talked about some conspiracy theories. We talked about how big governments basically can suck it. But
I
I'm
mean,
still curious.
the biggest conspiracy though of all time though is governments. So like, I
Yeah,
mean,
government cover ups. Like,
they control the majority of the conspiracies. So
yeah,
it all leads back to the same people.
yeah. Because if they were just released to the people, like, just if they just literally looked at, and that just shows right there, people, is how much your government thinks about you when they can't even tell you the truth about things because they think you can't handle it.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like a couple years ago, when they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, aliens are real," people are just like, "Oh, okay." Like we already knew that, but okay, thanks for clarifying that.
But
Like
some
there was
people,
no mass hysteria. There
no,
was no, freak out by people or whatever. There was a lot of "I
no,
told you so's" going around, but like,
there's a bunch of
That was
conspiracy
it.
theorists saying now there's another one to chalk up that we
Yeah,
found in the
I
last few
mean,
years that isn't a
the
conspiracy theory.
turnaround on conspiracy theories anymore is like what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, like JFK.
Like, just
JFK.
wait 3 weeks, it'll be a conspiracy fact.
Yeah, all the information on JFK that got released just this past year that
Yeah,
basically
that
proves.
nobody knows about because they
Yeah,
kind of slid that under the radar.
yeah. Go check out my Facebook page. I got a couple posts on there about one of them is about JFK
Well,
and
and the
how
fact checkers are going to be like, yeah, that's not true. But I mean, if you
uh,
look at the sources in which some of that stuff is coming from, like
the actual
the
document,
actual White House.
their actual unclassified documents that information comes from, like
Yeah.
legit, like they're the it's such a deep hole. It's
Have you
just the
ever
fact.
like gone to the whitehouse.gov website and like looked at the all the different things? Like they have a zombie preparedness action plan. Have you seen that?
I've heard about it.
Like it's
Not
legit.
that.
There's a zombie preparedness action plan that you can go look at on the whitehouse.gov website and also the CDC website. You can go and find where there's a zombie preparedness action plan.
Yeah, and see that's the part that's part of why people don't take things seriously is like they do stuff like that just for, and whenever they come out with it, they laugh about it, they joke about it. It's nothing but a joke to
But in
them.
5 years from now, they're gonna be like, it was all there. You guys could have read it. Like you guys were the ones that weren't prepared for this.
They release so much things right under our noses that people don't even realize
So
because
like when the
I
zombie apocalypse does come, the government can be like, we told you. Like it was there.
yeah, I'm more worried about probably World War III than the zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse at this point.
World domination. Yeah.
Because regardless of whether you like believe in Armageddon or not, like I honestly think that if we're on the edge of Armageddon, and I honestly think that Armageddon's probably been stopped a few times by aliens.
Well, I think
I
really it's more along the lines of nuclear war is what scares the shit out of me.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's World War
Yeah.
Three will be fought with sticks and stones because there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think aliens have stopped it. I mean, they've showed that they can shut down nuclear silos and stuff. It makes me wonder, like when it did, were we about to fire one? You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff you're not going to hear in that report
Yeah.
is that. You know what I mean?
That
You'll
the
hear that
missile
they
was ongoing.
yeah, like they said that they shut down like the whole silo, and then it like started shutting each one down. Like, but this was before everything was computerized. This was all analog, and they could shut it down. This was before that was all controlled by computers. Like they have the capability to shut down electronics, period. Doesn't matter if they're hooked up to a computer, they don't have to hack anything. Somehow, some way they have the technology to be able just to and shut down a grid if they want. And
Or I
that
mean it could it be like I mean I don't want to sound like a typical sci-fi flick, but like some sort of like laser beam, like I guess, not one that you can physically
well,
see or like a normal like UV laser beam or whatever, but
it
like
could be a
an ultrasonic kind of
it could be a
EMP
directed,
kind of scenario.
yeah, a directed something. They
Direct energy weapon.
obviously, well, they have those already. That's what I was trying to say earlier. The directed energy weapon is what they use to down alien crafts because it travels at like twice the speed of light. So before the aliens could know that it's hitting them, it's hitting them. Because if they did know, like they were being locked onto or something like that, then they would obviously dodge it. But the people were asked if they're so advanced, why can't they dodge it? Because it's traveling at, you know, twice the speed of light. It's already there before you know it's there. So that's why it's hitting them and downing their crafts. But we've been using that since I guess like the 50s.
Yeah.
So we have one.
Well, I know we
And
do. Look at Hawaii.
yeah, I mean, those fires, and I love how I don't love actually. I don't I don't like the fact that nobody talks about it. Don't you think it's weird?
Well, there was a lot of people that were talking about it.
No,
It's
yeah, when
just
it was
they were being
happening,
silenced.
but after it was done and over with, like the fire stopped, it was like nothing anymore. It was not
Right.
talked about on the news. No one brought it up. No one, like, not at all. It was like it only mattered when they were happening, but when it was over, the news didn't cover a lick of it. And that should show you that something ain't right there, because there, if the media isn't digging into it, just assume that there's something fishy going on, because why aren't they? Because there's no story there, they say. There's always a story somewhere.
Right.
Always.
They
Why
just
were
don't want it to
whole
be a story.
families, why were they finding whole families burn up in their cars? Okay.
Well, not only that, but why were certain cars untouched?
Yeah, and some cars were, some roofs weren't. Like
There was
that's what lasers
specific
do.
colors of things
Blue.
that, like a canvas umbrella, that
Yeah.
was everything around it was fucking torched. Torched.
It doesn't make any sense.
But that canvas umbrella that's made of polyester or whatever the hell it's made out of, just because it was blue, it's
And
fine.
that's what keeps still killing me, is the fact that why, the thing that bothers me the most of why when they find these families burn up in their cars, is what I'm trying to get at is that had to happen instantaneously. Like,
Right, it had to
something
happen
had to have hit
fast
them when
and
they
hot.
were in their car, because if it was getting to them, you would get out of
When
your
you get out and
car
run,
and go the opposite direction. You go towards the
or
water. You get out. That, and these people
you
were
don't
in the
just sit
middle
there
on
and
the
burn to death.
concrete. That there was no brush around. There was no trees around. These were cars that were parked in the middle of the street, and they were completely fried. It makes no sense.
And it
That's
wasn't
not
like
what fire
gridlocked
does.
either, so it's not like they couldn't move. It's
Yeah,
like they
it
were
makes no
moving
sense.
and something stopped them instantaneously.
It's like something, some sort of weapon was being fired that was just like coming and going and hitting random people. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever that somebody could be completely burned up in their car on a street with nothing around them that could be burnt. Not, no trees, no kindling, no nothing. It shouldn't be reaching their car. So why is their car on fire? Why did their car catch on fire and they're all
That
just sitting
fast.
in their car, burn up, like not even trying to get
Science
out?
says not possible.
They would try to get out. You would have people halfway, like, you wouldn't have them just sitting in their car burn up. It makes no sense. No one sits there and gets burned alive.
Not
Make that
no.
exactly.
Not
That's
unless they're
what,
fucking taped down or strapped down or
or it was
unable to get
instant,
out.
or it was instant. Whatever hit them was so hot, they burn up in a matter of like
Like
that.
an explosion, but not.
Like, just heat,
Yeah.
like being hit with a hot
Like a
laser.
welder. Like
Yeah.
a welding machine.
Just like an instant burn. It just, that's what kills me the most, is they were finding full families in cars on streets, and it made no sense. And the government or the media, which is the same thing, they don't report about it. Like, wouldn't you
No, they
think
didn't want to
that?
cover it.
Yeah, because they were told not to cover it, or else.
Yeah.
And that's what all these come back to. It always comes back to stop what you're doing, or else. And people are getting threatened. And it's the people
Well,
need
what
to
it comes
realize
down
they
to
got to
is
stand up.
that part of that part of Hawaii that was burned. Um, they wanted, certain people wanted to purchase that land, and they basically said no, because there's a Hawaii. I don't know if they're called tribes or what they are there. I'm not educated on Hawaii too much, but there's certain people that live kind of like Native American Indians in America. Granted, Hawaii is part of America, but you get what I'm saying. Is that
Yeah.
the Hawaiian people have their own type of tribes, and that land was a sacred land. And there was certain people, higher up people, that wanted to build on that land. And these people were like, no, we're not selling our land to you. So what's the next best thing? Let's fucking torch it so that there's nothing left, and then we can just take it. And we can build our smart city right there.
Yeah. And that's the problem.
Because that's what a lot of people don't understand is they were trying to
purchase
negotiate
it.
with these people to try and build a smart city in Hawaii. And these people were like, no, we don't want that here. And so all of a sudden it fucking catches fire.
All burns to the fucking ground.
Huh. Weird.
Exactly.
Imagine that.
But that's just a conspiracy theory, right?
It's kind of like
weird.
that, you know, the wildfire in Texas, you know, what was it, last year when, you know,
right after
it wasn't even they were trying to, like, our governor down here was like, we're shutting down the border. We're going to put up our own fucking fence. We're not going to let anybody come through. And then the government was like, no, you guys need to take that down. And then our governor was like, no, we're not doing that. And then all of a sudden there's a fucking fire burning up half of the fucking farmland.
Lands. Yeah. It's
killing
weird.
Thousands of fucking cows that feed the rest of the United States. Tell me that wasn't on purpose.
That's what I'm saying. They obviously can, just like you said, with Biden trying to push stuff into legislation before he gets out of office to try to basically stop Trump from being able to be president. Like if they spent half the action that they have and half the gumption of not having him become president on actually anything that's worth a shit, we would probably have got a lot of things go in our favor, probably, if he put that kind of effort and, you know,
and
into
actually trying to govern.
Into anything other than trying to post Trump. Like, I think that's what people are tired of. I think that's why it's all backfired in their faces is we can see it.
Well, I mean, there's
think we're
how many
blind to it.
indictments? They've had how many tried impeachments? They've all failed. Now he's been shot, and guess what? His poll numbers still keep going up.
Yeah.
Because the people are starting to realize that the more that you're trying to kick a dog while he's down, the more they're on the dog's side.
The more they're realizing we can relate to that. We can relate to the government trying to fuck us because we live it every day. And when we see somebody else that's literally saying they're trying to make America great again, and you have nothing but people calling them like terrorists and occults and all this stuff, they're just
when
looking
all
at
these
you going,
people, all they want is to just be able to live free. Live free and
trying
live
to
happy.
We want America to be great again.
But that's
We
a bad
didn't say
thing.
we want that's a bad thing. Like you're literally saying it's a bad thing for the movement that's called Make America Great Again is a bad movement.
It's a bad thing.
Think about that for a second. When you say that out loud, instead of calling it MAGA, start saying it out loud again and say how much you hate it. And then think about how much of a hypocrite you are when you
if
say
you don't
that
want to
you
make
hate
America great again, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Leave.
Because it sure as hell ain't great now. And if you think it is, then you're living in a dream world.
And
if you think
must
that
be part of the elite
1%.
1% because us
Everybody
99% is getting fucked over.
We're the ones that pay all those taxes. We're the ones that make up most of the country.
Well, and not only how many millions of illegal immigrants that are coming across the border in fucking truckloads, buses that are being dropped off at Kamala Harris's residence. Did you see that?
I hope so.
Funny. They did. There was our Texas governor took a busload of illegal immigrants and sent them to Kamala Harris's personal residence.
Good. They can see their policies in action.
Yeah. So, and that's,
they need more
he
of
said
it.
that's exactly what's going to keep happening. We're just going to start shipping them to the legislation, this legislature's house, and they don't want to deal with the actual problem. Then we'll drop them off right there. And you guys will have to deal with the problem. Close the
That's what they
freaking
start.
borders, man.
Why
Come here
don't they?
legally, like fucking you should.
Yeah,
I'm all for immigration. Like,
me
come on
too.
over, but come here fucking legally. Do it
Yeah.
right.
And if you call another person a displaced person, displaced people aren't walking across the border. They're not displaced. They know exactly where they're
They know
going.
exactly where they're
So
coming from. And
uh,
and most
they
of
have a
those people that
choice.
are coming across our southern border are not actually Mexican. They're not
Displaced
actually coming
people.
from
Yeah.
Mexico. They're coming
No.
from South
From
America. They're
Africa,
coming from
China.
Uganda. They're coming from,
Yeah.
Pakistan. There's
Yeah.
a known terrorist that has
Terrorists.
crossed the freaking Mexican border,
Yep.
and yet they don't do anything about it.
Nope. Nothing.
Nothing.
Because they don't care. They don't care about Americans. They don't. They don't. If they
Like, I'm
did,
half tempted to like
then
give up my residency here as an American, go down to Mexico, cross the border, and then I would be living all happy, and personally, I would be better off
right, save up money for about
giving up
10
my
years and you could
citizenship.
live the rest. What? Yeah, go
You know
over
what I
to
mean? Give up my
go over to
citizenship,
Europe.
and I'd have all kinds of freaking money.
Go to Europe. Live a lot better.
I
Sad.
mean, you'd actually get health care.
It's sad. It's sad that we even have to talk about that. It would be better living somewhere else in America when that's the place that everybody says is the best place to live in the country. Because once you live here, like, yeah, it might be better for these people that are crossing over. It's way better than the places because they're
I mean,
being
yeah, we don't
handed free
have,
money.
we're not a third world country, but
Why wouldn't they
we're
like it?
working our way there. If freaking we keep
Yeah.
Democrats in office.
Well, think about it. If you're just gonna keep giving illegal people that are here illegally taxpayer money, of course they're gonna love coming here. They're getting a free check every month
And they're getting a cell phone.
and food,
And they're
and they're
getting
not.
housing.
And
And
guess
they're
what? They
getting
don't have to
food.
worry about
And they're getting
anything.
health care.
They don't have to worry about a damn thing. But us as Americans, we have to worry about it. We have to
Everything.
worry about the next meal that comes. We got to worry about if we have enough gas to get back and forth to work as we get taxes taken for every single thing we buy and
Right. We
eat
get taxed
and
at our
do.
paycheck, and then we get taxed
And
on the
then
food that we
these
buy, and
people,
then we get taxed on the roads that we drive on, the car that we drive the roads on.
yeah, that we paid for with our tax money. Yeah, it makes no sense. We're overtaxed, and then you're handing this overtaxation to people who aren't supposed to be here to begin with, that are illegal, that shouldn't be here. And you're handing them our money, our hard-earned money is going into their mouths because of what? Because they decided to come over here. Nobody asked them to. They weren't. They're not refugees.
Nope.
They're
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 not
not
fleeing from
displaced.
something.
They're not fleeing. They're not. No, they're
They
just
just want to come
looking
here
for a
because
free
they want free shit.
fucking food, free
Because
food,
guess what?
free money,
If they
free
want to go back
everything.
home, if they want to go back home, they get to take all that with them.
Yeah.
The
So
the cell
that's
phone
the
that we
point.
gave them, yeah, they get to take that with them. The
That's what I'm
money that
saying.
we gave them, the American money, they get to take that home. And
And
they
it's
don't have
just
to go
getting old.
home. They don't have to go home, but if they want to, they're more than welcome to.
So I'm confused too. I'm always confused. What always confuses me is why are people so worried about illegals being able to get here for nothing, but yet there's kids living on the streets, but you're
Well, not
worried
just
about
kids
people.
living on the
Well, I
streets,
know.
just
I'm
people
just
in
saying
general.
there's kids, people, families all living on the streets because they can't afford to live because they're not getting paid a decent wage because their wages are being overtaxed and
Well,
then
not
given
only
to
that,
these.
but in order to qualify for certain government assistance, you have to make under a certain threshold,
Yeah.
right?
So
Well,
you
that
have to make
threshold
shit.
has been lowered to the point where even minimum wage people barely are meeting that threshold.
Exactly.
So,
Because
like,
it's something's got to give.
how are you getting the government assistance unless you period don't have a job?
Yeah, they're basically causing you to, if you want assistance, you have to make less
If
money.
exactly. So you need to be making less than what you
Yeah.
should be making or what you could be making.
But they're handing it to illegals for free.
Right.
That's the point. The point is the
So
tax-paying people can't even get a hold of these funds, but yet illegals that just come across the border illegally can get these funds for doing absolutely nothing. They
yep,
don't ask them for how much
walking
wages they
across
were
the
making.
river.
Just
That's all
walking
I gotta
across the
do.
river is all they have to do. But people are sleeping on the street that are American citizens that aren't getting any of these benefits and are getting
Well, and then
denied
not
these
to
benefits.
mention just the American citizens, but the American citizen veterans
Yeah.
that
People fought
are
for our country
literally have limbs blown off to fight for
and
people's
are
freedoms
sleeping on
in
the
this
street.
country and are sleeping on the street and are going without health care because, you know, the VA doesn't give a flying fuck about half the fucking veterans.
Yeah, it's
And
disgusting.
if you want to go to the doctor, you have to wait 6 months to be
So
able to go to the
all you
doctor.
people that care so much about illegal immigrants, you're the problem. I'm just letting you know that. You're voting people into office that care more about people that aren't our citizens, which that's their job, by the way. I think a
It's
lot of these
paid for.
I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a test. There needs to be a test to vote because there's too many idiots voting that have no concept or clue about even how government works, and they're out screaming in the
There's
streets.
people that can't even tell you the 3 branches of the government
Yeah,
and what they do.
no,
And
they
if
can
you
even
can't even say what the 3 branches of the government is, you should not be able to vote.
no because and people be like, well, that's our freedom. Yeah, but you don't even know what your freedoms are.
You're
So how would you
uneducated.
know? You just been told that.
Well, it's
You
your
don't.
freedom, but yeah,
Yeah,
but your freedom
you're taking it
also
for granted.
includes education. And if you cannot educate yourself on the way that our government is ran or should be ran, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah, you are. You are the problem. If you're voting, but you don't know what you're voting for, stop voting.
The problem with the younger, I mean, we're millennials, right? So like the younger generation, like the Gen Z that are just now able to vote for their first time, they are so wound up in their feelings that they use that as a motive to who they vote for.
Yeah.
And feelings should not have anything to do with who you vote for. It
Nope.
should all be based on facts,
Policy,
policy. I mean, just
track
common
record,
fucking sense. Like,
track record.
yeah, like look
You
at
want
what
to vote
they've
for
done in the
Biden?
past.
He's been in office
Biden
for
has been
50
in
years and you can't even name
exactly.
something. Name
You
something
can't
the
even
man's
say
done.
other than negative things that have put thousands and thousands of black men in jail.
Yeah. All in the name
And
of
then
what?
he's just like, I'm not the racist. Trump's the racist. Like when
Really?
Trump is the one that's like done
Actually,
more for the black
bef-
community than any
that's
other fucking president besides Abraham Lincoln.
what's funny. If they were to actually go before President Trump was ever president, guess who he was bumping elbows with? All the people that hate him now. The people that hate him now hate him because he reflects
He knows
them.
what they know.
He knows them. He knows them. They used to hang out with Oprah. He used to be on Oprah. She even asked him if he would run for president. That he would make a great
He's like,
president.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever would do
Yeah.
that, but I feel
Like
like if I did, I would do a very good job at it.
yeah, and literally Oprah said I think you would too. And
And then
until
she's the
it's
one
not
fucking
the
saying,
party.
putting his head on a goddamn platter, saying, "No, that was what's her face, Kathy Griffin." Never
Yeah,
mind.
she's an
But
idiot.
she was behind it.
It's just
Oprah
funny to me.
had a part in a lot of that.
It just
The
cracks me up because he
virtual
won medals.
hanging, I guess.
He literally has medals and stuff for doing and sponsoring stuff for the black community before he was ever president. Like
Right.
there's pictures of him posing with literally Reverend Jesse Jackson and all these
Martin
different
Luther
people
King.
that
There's a
all
picture of
freaking
him with Martin Luther King
well that's what I'm saying
Jr. But
is it isn't like you can't live in New York and be a racist.
no.
No, you can't claim and call yourself a New Yorker and be a racist. You just can't. Like New York is like the biggest melting pot in the country. Like you
I mean,
can't.
that's where it started. That's
And
literally where immigration started.
exactly,
Was
and
in New
it's just
York.
all
Ellis
the
Island
work.
for a lot of people that don't know that.
Yeah, all the money that he put into helping those communities, it's like a slap in your face when people come at you calling you a racist. Just for
Or
what?
bigot, or,
Yeah,
just
just because someone told
whatever
them to say
to
that.
think that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to say and think that. Not that they had any evidence for it. It's just
And
because.
even some of the things that like they've found that he has said, like was said in private with that person standing near him as a joke because he was part of that community. He was an honorary black guy in a lot of the communities, and he
Well,
was
that's what I'm
allowed to say
saying.
certain things. But yet
But
they're taking out of context and
but
made to seem like it was facetious, and it wasn't.
yeah. Well, that's politics. They'll try to bury you for missaid, misspoken, anything, just out of spite and ways to try to defamate your character for their narrative.
Right.
Politics. But we should wrap this up. We're at 2:30.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to have a paranormal podcast next week. We're going to dive into the paranormal world. We're going to have a guest on next week.
Oh, we
He
are.
went to the Monroe house with me, and he's called, his page is The Spirit Seeker. It's his name's Daniel, and he'll be joining us. He's a cool dude. And we'll be diving into that.
Okay.
So we are gonna get off of here, and everybody have a great night.
Good night.
Latest.